Suzuka calendar. Year 134,500. In the cultivation country of Chu, there was a ray of light that emerged in its territories. After 3 days had passed, all of the sects had sent disciples to check it out, but they ultimately found nothing other than an abandoned cave. It was rumored that a treasure appeared here, but was already taken by someone. As for this rumor, some cultivators refused to believe it, while other cultivators believed that it was true. Because the ray of light appeared near the Cloud Sky sect, the rumors became that the treasure was obtained by the Cloud Sky sect. In the same year, the Cloud Sky sect was able to refine a XIAN Sun pill. This pill's quality had reached the early stage of 5th rank. The pill's effect was to allow a nascent soul cultivator that had lost their body to immediately rebuild a new one without the need to steal a body to achieve rebirth. The moment this pill appeared, the already famous Cloud Sky sect became even more famous. All of the surrounding rank 4 counties wanted to get the pill, but in the end the Jumo sect from a rank 4 country got the pill through a secret agreement. Before they left, they placed a formation on the Cloud Sky sect. The formation was very strong. Even normal rank 4 countries would have trouble breaking it. In the end of that month, the Cloud Sky sect opened its doors for recruiting, something that happens once every 30 years. Various cultivation families in the country of Chu would send their descendants to the Cloud Sky sect, hoping that they would be able to join the sect and achieve greatness with the backing of the sect. However, the requirements to join the Cloud Sky sect were very strange. Unlike the other sects where they looked at how talented a person was, the Cloud Sky sect's recruitment was based on a special technique. As a result, the recruiting that only happened every 30 years would only ever result in about 10 or so people being recruited. It was really small compared to the thousands of people that would gather for this event. With the Cloud Sky sect's fame and how few disciples they took in, almost all of the cultivators without any sect or background dreamt that they could become disciples of the Cloud Sky sect. At the top of the Cloud Sky sect mountain were rows of puzzles carved from jade in an immortal palace. This was only part of the Cloud Sky sect. All of the other jade carvings were hidden by different techniques. From a distance, one could only see a lush, green forest, nothing else. 3 large green words were being held in the air by some spell like giant lanterns being hung off the doorway. The 3 words were Cloud Sky sect. When the recruiting event, which occurred every 30 years and lasted for 10 days, started, those 3 words would appear in the sky, and once the 10-day period was over, the 3 words would disappear. As a result, all of the scattered cultivators and the cultivation families in the country of Chu knew that the moment those 3 words appeared in the sky, the Cloud Sky sect had started their recruitment for disciples in the country of Chu. The moment those 3 words disappeared, the recruitment event was over. This morning there were no clouds in the sky. Rays of sword light flew in from all directions toward the Cloud Sky sect. When they were around 1,000 kilometers away from the Cloud Sky sect mountain, they all got off their flying swords, revealing many youths. All of them were fairly young. Some came by themselves, while others came with their elders. In order to show their respect to the Cloud Sky sect, basically all of the people who wanted to join the sect got off their flying swords 1,000 kilometers away and walked toward the sect on foot. If one were to look down from the sky right now, they could see that, within 1,000 kilometers of the Cloud Sky sect, were countless people walking toward the sect. Outside the gate of the Cloud Sky sect stood 3 cultivators who were responsible for arranging lodging and necessities for the people who came to try to join the sect. Around 500 kilometers away from the entrance of the Cloud Sky sect walked a man and a woman. The man was about 27 or 28 years old. He walked very leisurely and calmly toward the Cloud Sky sect. On his clothes was an embroidery of a purple flying sword, showing that he was already an inner disciple of the sword sect. Besides him walked a 20-year-old girl. She wore a purple dress with the same colored sash around her waist. She had very nice curves but also had a hint of sweetness. Upon a closer look, the girl was very attractive, and describing her as a beautiful flower would not be wrong. The girl pouted her red lips and rubbed her legs. "Elder brother, what's so good about this Cloud Sky sect that I have to come all the way here? I don't like alchemy. I like the sword sect," she complained. The man's expression remained normal. He looked at the girl, then poked her forehead and smiled. "There is too much killing in the sword sect. It is not suitable for you. I'm sure know that the Cloud Sky sect is a very important sect in the country of Chu. Even if the country of Chu suffers a great disaster, it wouldn't affect the Cloud Sky sect. If you can get into the Cloud Sky sect, your brother will be relieved. If mother and father were still alive, they would be relieved as well. When the girl heard her brother talk about their parents, her expression darkened a little. After pondering for a while, she obediently nodded her head. She then pointed into the forest and said to her brother, "Elder brother, if I get into the Cloud Sky sect, I'll make pills just for you. Then once your cultivation is high, we can go home and teach those old guys a lesson." When the man heard this, he turned and a cold light appeared in his eyes. In fear of scaring his sister, he never told her the truth of what had happened that year. The girl's eyes widened as she looked at a youth in front of her and laughed. "Elder brother, look. That man is wearing some funny-looking clothes." The man looked up and saw that 200 feet in front of them was a youth wearing very crudely made clothes slowly walking toward the sect. It has to be said that all of the people that came to try to join the Cloud Sky sect were either independent cultivators or people from cultivation families. It was impossible for mortals to get there. Therefore, it was very rare to see someone dressed like this. This was clearly the look of an ordinary mountain villager. As if hearing the girl's voice, the youth turned around to look at them and without pause, he withdrew his gaze and kept walking forward. A hint of surprise flashed across the man's eyes. He knew that his sister was very attractive and that, during the trip here, most people who passed by would stare at her. Especially after entering the 1,000-kilometer range of the Cloud Sky sect, everyone they encountered would take an extra look at his sister. But this youth's eyes were as calm as still water, and when the youth saw his sister, there was no fluctuation in the youth's eyes at all. The man sent out his divine sense and found that the youth's cultivation was only at the second or third layer of chi condensation. After he looked for a bit, he withdrew his gaze. The girl looked at the youth with a glint of interest in her eyes. She quickly walked forward and shouted, "Hey, are you here to join the sect as well?" The youth frowned. He didn't bother with her and kept walking forward. The girl let out a grunt. She gently leaped over the youth and landed in front of him. She disgruntledly said, "Are you mute?" I asked. "Are you here to join the sect?" The youth looked at the girl and helplessly said, "Is that not a pointless question?" With that, he walked around the girl, shaking his head. The girl's face turned red. She pondered a bit and realized that what she said before really was pointless. Since the youth was already here, she still asked if he was on his way to join the sect. The girl's elder brother curled his lips and let out a faint smile. He wasn't angry with the youth's reply at all. Instead, when his sister asked the question, he had the same feeling. The girl stomped her foot and caught up with the youth. She walked at his side and disgruntledly said, "What I asked was not pointless. With your clothes, no matter how you look, it doesn't look like you're here to join the sect. Look at everyone else. No one else is dressed like you. You have to know that when the Cloud Sky sect accept disciples." The youth frowned again and secretly sighed. From his view, this girl was like a newborn chick, and a very annoying one at that. If it was not for his cultivation being too low right now, he would have already waved his sleeves and left instead of suffering this girl's pestering. Time quickly passed by and it was afternoon now. The sun blazed in the sky and sweat oozed out of the youth's forehead. He bitterly smiled in his heart. It had been a long time since he ran out of breath like a mortal. Just at that moment, the girl next to him put her hand on her bag of holding and took out a few lychee nuts. After putting them in her mouth, she looked at the youth and raised her hand toward him. She asked, "Do you want this?" The youth didn't even look at it. He shook his head and continued to walk forward. The girl slightly snorted and didn't bother with it anymore. She returned to her brother's side and put all of the lychee nuts in her brother's hand. 2 hours later, the Cloud Sky sect's gate appeared in the distance. The youth let out a sigh after looking at the magnificent gate. He couldn't help but think about the Hongyu sect. This youth was Wang Lin. More accurately, this was Wang Lin's avatar that was created by the avatar technique. This doppelganger was created by the avatar technique from his main body, and had real flesh and blood. But this body only had 30 years to live. This was his only plan to break through into nascent soul stage while not losing his cultivation. As for his main body, it was hidden somewhere near the Cloud Sky sect. He had already abandoned the cave he was using before because, when the avatar appeared, a ray of light shot out into the sky. As a result, he had to quickly abandon the cave and find another place to start his closed-door cultivation. His main body went into closed-door training while his avatar lived in a village at the foot of the mountain for a few months. When he heard that the Cloud Sky sect was recruiting, he pondered for a while and decided to try getting in. That was the cause of the current scene. In Wang Lin's original plan, once he ran out of the spirit liquid, he was going to kidnap a Cloud Sky sect disciple and blend into the sect to steal pills. But now just happened to be when the Cloud Sky sect was recruiting, so Wang Lin decided to give up his original plan. If he could join the sect, he wouldn't have to go through the trouble of kidnapping a Cloud Sky sect disciple and blending into the sect to steal. All those who came to join the Cloud Sky sect were be brought to a side mountain to rest. Once the 10-day period is over, all of them will be brought to the Cloud Sky sect for the selection process. When the girl that walked with Wang Lin was led away by the disciples at the gate of the Cloud Sky sect, her brother turned to leave, but before he left, he took a few looks at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm. Although his cultivation was gone, his experience was still there. The man in front of him was definitely not at the core formation stage yet and was at best at the late stage of foundation building. If Wang Lin were to use his main body, he could effortlessly kill him. After staying at the Cloud Sky sect for a few days, the three big words floating in the sky slowly dissipated. Eventually, they disappeared without a trace, signaling the end of the Cloud Sky sect's recruitment period. What was next was to pick around 10 or so people to join as disciples of the Cloud Sky sect. Everyone else would be dismissed from the Cloud Sky sect's mountain. On this day, thousands of people who wanted to join the Cloud Sky sect sat cross-legged on a huge stage at the foot of the mountain, waiting for the exam. Among these people were men and women, old and young, and some had even reached core formation, while others were like Wang Lin, who were only at the second or third layer of chi condensation. There were dozens of Cloud Sky disciples standing on the edge of the stage with indifferent looks on their faces. They were releasing hints of pride. After all, they were already members of the Cloud Sky sect, so their positions were naturally higher than those who wished to join. Not long after, a middle-aged man wearing a white robe with 3 pills embroidered on the cuffs floated down from the mountain. He floated in the area above the stage and looked at everyone there. He said in a low tone, "If you wish to join my Cloud Sky sect, your seniority will be low. If you're not willing, then leave now." 星号被降10等星号. When he finished speaking, none of the thousands of people on the stage left. They all looked up at the person with determined looks in their eyes. Among these people were a few core formation cultivators. They knew that the middle-aged man's words were for them. After waiting for a little, the middle-aged man waved his right hand and a burst of force suddenly erupted from the center of the stage, pushing all of the nearby people away and exposing an open space 10 feet in diameter on the stage. At the same time, a dark mist column rose up from the ground there. It looked very majestic. This thick, dark mist pillar felt like it was a giant hand that was used to hold the sky up. After it rose from the ground, it stretched so far into the sky that if one were to look up from the bottom, they wouldn't be able to see the top. The middle-aged man's voice floated toward the crowd. Using whatever method you choose, as long as you can feel exactly what substance is inside this dark mist pillar, then you are qualified. The time limit is 6 hours. With that, he landed on the side and stood silently, watching the dark mist pillar. Wang Lin's expression remained normal. He stared at the black mist pillar and began to think. Although he was an avatar, when creating the avatar didn't get any cultivation or divine sense from the main body, but all of his techniques and the memories from the ancient god were still intact. Wang Lin's eyes trembled slightly. He kept analyzing the pillar until he slowly started to reveal a faint smile on his face. From his view, this pillar was clearly a type of restriction, and the restriction was used to test everyone who tried to see through it. This must be the Cloud Sky sect's way to get rid of people who were here to join them with ill intent, but Wang Lin wasn't sure about how exactly the restriction would react. What type of disciples did the Cloud Sky sect want to find with this restriction? According to Wang Lin's knowledge of restrictions, it would be impossible for ordinary people to solve this restriction. As a result, even among the thousands of people on this stage, almost none of them could see through this restriction. And so, if Wang Lin were to see through the restriction, that would be too obvious and someone would contradict his story of wanting to join the Cloud Sky sect. But this was still not the most important part. Wang Lin was worried that if he didn't know what type of disciple the Cloud Sky sect wanted and broke the restriction, then he would certainly gain too much attention from the Cloud Sky sect. That would make this venture not be worth it anymore. Therefore, Wang Lin didn't immediately break the restriction, but waited. He didn't believe that the Cloud Sky sect would just gather people and tell them that none of them were qualified. If his analysis was correct, someone should soon find the answer here for him. Time passed by, and in the blink of an eye 3 hours had passed. Some of the people in the crowd were already getting restless. They had already tried to probe with their divine sense, but whenever their divine sense got near the dark mist, a mysterious force would push them away. No matter what method they tried, they found no success. At last, one person slapped his bag of holding and took out a wood carving. This piece of wood was shaped like an eagle. He chanted a few words, then threw the wood carving toward the dark mist pillar. The middle-aged man who was in charge of recruiting disciples didn't say anything about this action, but he quietly looked at the pillar. Wang Lin noticed that although the middle-aged man's expression remained calm, the Cloud Sky sect's disciples that were around revealed strange expressions on their faces for a brief moment. The moment the wood eagle appeared, it instantly grew and finally turned into a golden eagle, which rushed toward the pillar. But the moment the golden eagle touched the pillar, a hand suddenly appeared from the pillar, grabbed the golden eagle, and pulled it into the black mist. The person who sent out the golden eagle's expression suddenly changed. He quickly stood up and quickly turned toward the middle-aged man and said, "Junior gives up and would like Senior to return the treasure. This is Junior's family treasure. Please, Senior." The middle-aged man scanned the person and slowly said, "The golden wooden eagle is the Gongsun family's inheritance treasure. Our sect will of course not keep it. Since you have already quit, it will be returned to you when everyone leaves." The person's gaze immediately relaxed a bit. His eyes were filled with gratitude as he walked down the stage. The middle-aged man stressed again, "I have already said this before. You can use anything you like. As long as you can clearly see what is inside, then you have passed." This time a youth on the stage cautiously asked, "But if we say what is inside the pillar, then won't everyone else here know as well?" The middle-aged man smiled and replied, "Not possible. If one of you can see through the mist, you will know the secret that lies here." When the hand came out of the black mist pillar, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He had been constantly watching the restriction, and when the hand appeared, a tiny gap appeared. With his knowledge and divine eye, he immediately saw several pills floating inside the mist pillar. Wang Lin's expression remained normal, but his heart skipped a beat. However, he pondered for a while, but didn't act rashly. This time more people became restless in the crowd and brought out their treasures to try to break this dark mist. More and more people started to attack with magical treasures. Every time a hand would come out, grab the magical treasure, and pull it into the dark mist. If the middle-aged man didn't already say it, they wouldn't dare to use all of these magical treasures, but the Cloud Sky sect already stated that if they give up, all of the treasures will be returned when they leave. As a result, everyone stopped caring. Many magical treasures appeared in the sky, one after another. Through the cracks caused by the attacks, Wang Lin was able to clearly see everything that was inside the restriction. After all, he had divine eyes that could see through restrictions. Inside it were 11 pills, 11 pieces of jade, and 11 tokens with a pill furnace carved onto them. Wang Lin didn't know what these 3 items represented, but at that moment, a golden light appeared around the black mist. Then a flash of golden light came from inside the mist as well. After the golden light circled the pillar for a bit, it turned into a piece of jade and flew into the hand of a girl who didn't know what was going on at all. At this point, the middle-aged man from the Cloud Sky sect's eyes lit up. He quickly moved next to the girl and picked up the jade in her hand. After looking at the jade for a bit, he smiled and said, "You pass." With that, he waved his right hand and a disciple of the Cloud Sky sect came and led her away. "Take her up the mountain." The middle-aged man smiled at the girl. He waved his sleeve and returned back to where he was and waited for the next person to pass. That girl still felt like everything was a blur. While still dazed, she was led up the mountain by a Cloud Sky sect disciple. Seeing that someone had managed to pass the exam, all of the people on the stage started to discuss with each other. But as for the people of the Cloud Sky sect, they weren't bothered by it at all. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He clearly saw that it wasn't because the girl saw through the black mist, But the piece of jade inside the black mist chose the girl. And when the middle-aged man saw the piece of jade falling into the girl's hand, he didn't immediately announce her passing, but went up to check the piece of jade before announcing it. Through this, Wang Lin judged that the middle-aged man went to check if the jade really chose her, so if he had acted rashly before, he would have revealed a weak point. Wang Lin sneered. This cloud sky sect's method of accepting disciples was indeed strange. Just at that moment, a golden light suddenly started to flash from the pillar again. Wang Lin's eyes flashed and his right hand secretly made a restriction. With the spiritual energy he had right now, he could only use a few simple restrictions and was unable to make an illusionary circle. Nevertheless, the restrictions he possessed were ancient restrictions passed down by the ancient god. It was not something normal cultivators could match. Plus, with all of the magical treasures shining all the time and the cloud sky sect themselves having said that any method could be used, no one saw through Wang Lin's restriction. The moment the restriction hit the pillar, Wang Lin could clearly feel that a piece of jade was shining gold and slowly flying outwards. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his restriction landed on the piece of jade. Suddenly, the speed of the piece of jade slowed down a lot. At the same time, he sent out another restriction and, this time, the restriction landed on a pill inside the pillar. The pill started emitting a golden light and quickly flew out of the pillar. It landed in the hand of a youth on the stage. The person was stunned and suddenly shouted in ecstasy, "This I passed." At that moment, the cloud sect's middle-aged man's eyes jerked open. He stared at the pill as he quickly leaped and landed in front of the youth. Without a word, he waved his hand and the pill flew into his hand. He carefully examined the pill, then looked the youth, who was filled with ecstasy. After pondering for a while, he said, "Congratulations to you. You won't need to be tested anymore, and will directly become an inner disciple of the Cloud Sky sect. You can go up the mountain to see the sect head. Take good care of this pill. When you meet your teacher, give this to them as a gift. Sadly, this is a fire-based pill. If it was something else, I would be your teacher." The disciple's eyes revealed a color of ecstasy. He quickly nodded as he was filled with excitement. Wang Lin's expression was calm, but his heart was moved. Inside the black fog, he only saw three things: the pill, the jade, and the token. It was clear that these three items had different meanings. Receiving the pill meant one would become a disciple, and receiving the jade meant one passed this test. What would happen if someone received the token? Wang Lin pondered a little, but he didn't act again. He had to be very cautious because one time could be an accident, but if he used it in succession it would be obvious. If he were to get found out, all of this would have been for naught. With Wang Lin's analysis of the middle-aged man's expression, he believed that in this recruitment exam that only occurred once every 30 years, almost no one get the pill. He guessed that most people just got the piece of jade. The middle-aged man slowly said in a flat tone, "There is only 1 hour left before the time limit is up. I can tell you now that within the pillar there are 4 items: a piece of jade, a pill, a token, and a pill furnace. Among the 4 items, whoever gets the jade passes this test. Whoever gets the pill directly becomes an inner disciple. Whoever gets the token can trade it for any third-rank pill, aside from the one that lets you become an inner disciple. If one of you get the furnace, then you will be one of the few that will become a disciple of the sect head. But in the 8,000 years since the Cloud Sky sect was founded, only 6 disciples have gotten the pill furnace. I hope that among you there will be a 7th. Once you become the disciple of the sect head, you can use pills as you wish, and you will be exposed to the more profound areas of alchemy." The moment the words came out, all of the youths on the stage took deep breaths and looked at the pillar. In their eyes, the pillar represented a lifetime of wealth. When Wang Lin heard those words, he was stunned. When he checked inside the restriction, there were only 3 items. There was no pill furnace inside. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin didn't keep watching, but sent out a restriction and pulled out a pill. With a flash of golden light, a blue pill immediately flew out from the pillar and was grabbed by Wang Lin. It was not that Wang Lin couldn't get the token, but he didn't want it to be too showy. If it wasn't for the fact that getting the pill would make him an inner disciple directly, he would have chosen the jade instead. After noticing the color of the pill, the middle-aged man's eyes suddenly lit up. He grabbed the pill from Wang Lin's hand. After looking at Wang Lin for a while, he smiled and said, Are you willing to take me as your teacher? Wang Lin's face revealed a look of fear, but in that fear there was a hint of excitement. He quickly nodded. The middle-aged man smiled and said, "Stand with me until the end, then I'll bring you up the mountain to see the sect head." Wang Lin quickly and respectfully followed the middle-aged man to the corner of the stage. His face was filled with fear and ecstasy, but he sneered inside. When he saw the middle-aged man's disappointed look when the disciple earlier had gotten the fire element pill, Wang Lin began to carefully observe the middle-aged man. He roughly judged that the pill the middle-aged man wanted was a water pill. After all, even if the other elements weren't compatible, it was still usable, unless he needed a water element, which was the opposite of fire. As a result, Wang Lin deliberately chose a water element pill because if his analysis was correct, the middle-aged man would be too happy to dig too deep into why two pills appeared in a row. Within the next hour, 3 more people were chosen. Among the 3, one of them was the girl that walked here with Wang Lin. Time was nearing the end. The middle-aged man looked up into the sky and was about to announce the result, but at the same time the entire dark mist pillar started to roll violently. Dark clouds started to appear in the sky and lightning flashed across the sky like silver snakes dancing. At the same time, bursts of thunderous roars appeared from inside the mist, and the tip of a giant pill furnace appeared out of the corner of the mist. This tip was purple and had an etching of a black dragon in chains. The dragon's eyes were filled with rage and a strong sense of unwillingness. It looked into the sky and let out a few roars. At that moment, an invisible force from the mist pushed off everyone that was on the stage, aside from the middle-aged man and Wang Lin, who was next to him, and a weak-looking youth. The weak-looking youth stared at the tip of the pill furnace with a blank expression, unable to speak. Wang Lin was startled. He carefully looked at the pill furnace and could see it covered with a layer of black light. Every time the pill furnace moved a bit, the layer of black light lessened. Tripod. This is the dragon tripod. The middle-aged man standing next to Wang Lin revealed a serious expression. But, at the same time, the pill furnace suddenly quivered and no longer flew out, but gradually shrank back into the mist. At the same time, a golden token flew out of the mist and landed in the weak-looking youth's hand. The middle-aged man let out a sigh. He saw this happen every 30 years, but the pill furnace had never been able to break out from the pillar. Send everyone out of the Cloud Sky Sect's mountain. Everyone that obtains something, follow me up the mountain. After the middle-aged man finished, he looked back at Wang Lin and grabbed Wang Lin's belt. He jumped to the youth who got the token and picked him up as well, then brought both of them up the mountain. Behind him were 3 Cloud Sky disciples. They were carrying the lucky 3 who passed the exam to the top of the mountain. Wang Lin kept checking his surroundings. As the middle-aged man moved faster, the mountain got closer. Then they suddenly passed a wave-like barrier and the entire scene before Wang Lin changed. The rows of luscious green forest and mountainscape suddenly disappeared, and what unfolded before Wang Lin was a very grand building decorated with extremely well-carved jade. Even Wang Lin, who had seen the world, couldn't help but suck in a breath as well, and though that the Cloud Sky Sect was indeed rich. Although not all of the houses were made of jade, more than 80% of the buildings were made from natural jade stone. If all of this was turned into spirit stones or jade pieces, the total number of them would be unimaginable. At the same time, because there was a lot of jade, this place naturally had very dense spiritual energy. He took one breath and immediately felt a very comfortable feeling. After analyzing it a bit, Wang Lin determined that cultivating here for one day could be compared to 3 days of cultivation outside. Wang Lin looked at the others who were also selected and found that all of them were stunned as well. They all stared at the scene before them with strange expressions. The moment they passed the wave-like barrier, the disciples behind the middle-aged man began to loosen their arms. Everyone who came to join the Cloud Sky Sect already had their own flying treasures. As the Cloud Sky Sect disciples loosened their holds on the people they were carrying, everyone got on their own flying treasure and followed behind the middle-aged man. The group's speed wasn't very fast. Wang Lin was stunned for a bit longer, then saw a flock of cranes flying in from the distance. On top of the cranes sat several beautiful women. These women wore rainbow-colored robes, making them look like dancing butterflies, which made people involuntarily look in their direction. When the cranes got closer, one of the women said with a beautiful and clear voice, "Elder Marshal Brother Zhou, are these the new disciples?" The woman was attractive, with all of the features of a top beauty. She also had a small dot on the edge of her lip, making her very charming. The middle-aged man let out a laugh and said, "Yes." This time during the recruitment 6 people passed. The woman's gaze swept through the group, revealing some of her hidden beauty. Her gaze ended up on the girl that walked to the sect with Wang Lin and she smiled. Very pretty. If she was seen by teacher, she would be accepted as a disciple for sure. When the woman finished, the women that were with her turned their gazes onto the girl. After chatting among themselves for a bit, they all left on the cranes with charming smiles. Those exquisite women came quick and left just as quick, but their appearance riled up the hearts of the young men that had just joined the sect. Among the 6 new disciples, besides the girl that walked up the mountain with Wang Lin, who frowned, the only other person who didn't even bat their eye when they saw the charm of those women was Wang Lin. In Wang Lin's view, although these women were very beautiful and their bodies have nice curves, they were not as beautiful as Li Muan, and compared to the Xiandao sect's Lu Mei, they were even further behind. Therefore, how could they catch Wang Lin's attention? Also, he always had a strong heart that wouldn't be fluttered by pretty women, so Wang Lin not being flustered was no big surprise. As for the girl that walked with Wang Lin to the sect, she turned around and her gaze fell on Wang Lin. When she saw that his eyes were calm, she felt a hint of joy in her heart, though she didn't know why. After those women left, the middle-aged man lightly coughed. His gaze fell on the guys. He then turned to the girl and smiled. "Lucky girl. You also don't need to do the second exam. Later, you will follow me to see the sect head." With that, he continued to fly forward. As they flew deeper into the Cloud Sky sect, spirit beasts gradually appeared on the ground. There were numerous tigers, monkeys, bears, and other animals. They were all normal animals, but inside the Cloud Sky sect, each of them were much larger and their bodies emitted large amounts of spiritual energy, meaning they all had considerable cultivation. These spirit beasts were all either quietly laying on the ground or nimbly climbing around. As they flew, Wang Lin found that the buildings formed a large circle, and at the center of circle, a very magnificent hall slowly came into everyone's view. This main hall was very large. Even if 1,000 people were to enter the main hall, it wouldn't feel crowded. In the square in front of the grand hall were 7 large pill furnaces. Each furnace was emitting white smoke that was floating up into the sky, as if they were communicating with the heavens. From inside and outside, the grand hall emitted a lingering scent of pills. Currently, there were dozens of people divided into 2 rows. They were either meditating with their eyes closed or talking to each other. In the middle, a white-haired old man, who was wearing a green robe and holding his hands behind his back, smiled at the group as they got closer. The middle-aged man who brought Wang Lin and the others here slowly descended and landed in the square. He put Wang Lin and the youth who got the token down and respectfully said to the elder in green, "9th generation disciple Zhou Lin greets the sect head." In today's recruitment for the Cloud Sky sect, a total of 6 people passed. Among the 6 people, 3 of them got jades, 2 got pills, and 1 got a token. Disciples have already sent the girl that got the first jade up the mountain. After Wang Lin arrived, he was immediately stunned. He quickly lowered his head because all of the old guys around here were nascent soul cultivators. No wonder the Cloud Sky sect was the #1 sect in the country of Chu. The green-robed elder smiled and said, "You can go and arrange the test for the 3 that received the jade. If they pass, they can become inner disciples." The middle-aged man wanted to speak, but he hesitated for a bit, then pointed to Wang Lin and said, "Sect head, disciple wants to accept this youth as my disciple." He got a water element pill, which is a suitable ingredient for the pill disciple needs right now. The green-robed elder's gaze swept across Wang Lin. In that instant, his gaze was as sharp as knives and he clearly saw through Wang Lin inside and out. Wang Lin sneered in his heart. Although this elder's cultivation was at the nascent soul stage, the current cultivation of this body was still at the qi condensation stage, so he wasn't afraid at all, but his body did quiver and his eyes revealed a look of fear. After an instant, the elder withdrew his gaze. He faintly smiled and said, "In order to get the pill, this person must have some special technique. Fine, you can take him as your disciple." He had no fear of another sect's disciple Misyang into his school because the items inside the mist chose their owners on their own, and one of the qualifications to be chosen was to not have any ill intent toward the sect. However, he didn't know that Wang Lin had used an ancient restriction to lead the item out by force. The middle-aged man Zhou Lin's eyes immediately lit up. He thanked the sect head and then glanced at Wang Lin. He signaled Wang Lin to follow him. But, just as that moment, an old woman sitting at the second position to the right opened her eyes. She examined the group and said with a husky voice, "I want this girl." The old woman pointed her hand and the girl that came with Wang Lin suddenly let out a scream as her body involuntarily floated toward the old woman. The girl was also very clever. She quickly knelt on the ground and said, "Disciple greets master." The moment those words came out, everyone sitting around immediately revealed strange expressions. Even the old woman was stunned. After blankly staring at her for a moment, the old woman smiled and said, "You sure are a smart girl. Did you know that all disciples that enter my Cloud Sky sect are considered 10th generation disciples?" The girl's face turned red. She played with the edge of her clothes, not knowing what to say. The old woman carefully looked at her a few times and smiled. "Fine, get up. Although I can't immediately accept you as my disciple, if you can make a rank 2 pill in 3 years, I'll forcibly accept you as an honorary disciple." The green-robed elder shook his head slightly. His gaze swept across the group and fell on the youth holding the token. With a dignified look on his face, he pondered a little, then said to the middle-aged man named Zhou Lin, "You can go now." Zhou Lin quickly responded and signaled Wang Lin to follow him as he walked away. Behind Wang Lin were the 2 youths who got the jades. They were also told what to do and quickly followed behind Wang Lin. As they left, the 2 youths looked at Wang Lin and the other who was accepted already. They couldn't help but reveal envious looks. After they left the main hall, the middle-aged man turned to the 2 that received the jades and calmly said, "The 2 of you wait here. You're not allowed to go anywhere. I'll be back soon." With that, he grabbed Wang Lin and jumped into the sky. He turned into a ray of rainbow-colored light and disappeared into the distance. This Zhou Lin's speed was very quick. After a short period of time, he had already brought Wang Lin to a house on the edge of the mountain range. He opened the courtyard's gate and inside the courtyard was a small herb garden. In the center of the garden was a bronze pill furnace that was the height of a person. "Our Cloud Sky sect doesn't have any fancy ceremonies. I took your pill, so you are now my disciple. From your registration record, I know that your name is Wang Lin. Wang Lin, I have never accepted a disciple before, you are the first one. From now on you will live in this house. After I'm done with the recruitment, I'll return and teach you the art of alchemy." With that, Zhou Lin explained a few more things and left. After Zhou Lin left, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. From now on, he was also a member of the Cloud Sky sect. He took a deep breath and looked around. This garden had many flowers and plants growing all around. The more he looked at them, the more excited he got. This was only the 9th generation disciples' herb garden, and there were already extremely valuable herbs growing here. And all of these herbs were kept in perfect condition. Considering the amount of spiritual energy they received, none of the herbs' effects would be lost at all. After he checked out everything, Wang Lin let out another sigh. He felt that the Cloud Sky sect was too luxurious and rich. Using jade as building stones, raising spirit beasts like livestock, a mere 9th generation disciple with an herb garden like this. All of this displayed just how powerful the Cloud Sky sect was. At that moment, Wang Lin's heart felt a sudden urge to steal the pills inside the storage houses of the Cloud Sky sect. There must be a large variety of pills stored there, so if he could get his hands on them, he wouldn't be short on any pill until he reached the spirit-severing stage. The moment this idea came into his mind, he tossed it aside because it was impossible unless his main body reaches the nascent soul stage. Then it would not be entirely impossible. After pondering a little, Wang Lin put away this unrealistic idea. After all, his avatar was only at the 3rd layer of chi condensation. The herb garden wasn't large. Behind it was a row of houses. Besides the first house having restrictions protecting it, none of the other houses had any protection. Wang Lin picked the last house. He walked inside and swept the surroundings. The room was equipped with all of the daily necessities. In addition, there was a small pill furnace in the middle of the room. Although Wang Lin wasn't an expert on pill furnaces, he still knew a thing or two. Those pill furnaces in the main hall were legendary treasures. Even that small pill furnace at the center of the garden was considered a rare treasure. If it was in the Sea of Devils, the cost to make one of those would be unimaginable. And finally, the small pill furnace in his room stunned him greatly. This pill furnace was not any worse than the furnace he gave Li Muan back then. That meant that this pill furnace was worth a complete dragon skin. It has to be said that there were many courtyards like this in the Cloud Sky sect, and each garden had many rooms, and each one of those rooms had a pill furnace. Adding all of those up meant that there was an extremely large amount of these furnaces. Obviously, these pill furnaces weren't worth much in the Cloud Sky sect. In order to confirm his speculation, he went and checked all of the other rooms. He confirmed that, within each of those rooms, there was a similar pill furnace. Everything he had seen since entering the Cloud Sky sect had shown just how powerful the sect was. Wang Lin took a deep breath and felt awed again by how powerful and rich this sect was. From within the room, Wang Lin pondered for a while. He sent out a restriction that landed on the door. Then he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. Time slowly passed. When night came, Wang Lin felt a special fluctuation of spiritual energy from the restriction he placed. He knew that it was because Zhou Lin had returned. This Zhou Lin was only at the early stage of core formation, so he couldn't see through Wang Lin's formation. The Cloud Sky sect was split into the inner and outer sect. The inner sect was in charge of alchemy, and the outer sect was in charge of protecting the sect. Because Zhou Lin was an inner sect disciple, his main job was making pills. "Come out and meet me." Zhou Lin's voice floated in from outside. Wang Lin opened his eyes and walked out of the room. Although it was late at night, with the rays of moonlight, everything was as clear as day for cultivators. Zhou Lin stood in the garden. When Wang Lin came out, he threw a piece of jade at Wang Lin and said, "Your teacher has to go into closed-door training to absorb the water element pill. If it's short, it'll only take a few months, but it could take up to few years. Thus, I don't have the time to teach you alchemy. Inside this jade are dozens of years of my experience and some pill recipes. You should study it first yourself. If you have any problems, go to the southern courtyard. In the third courtyard, you'll find your teacher's teacher. I have already told her about me accepting you as a disciple." Wang Lin took the piece of jade. He put it on his forehead and scanned the jade, then was immediately stunned. He didn't think that Zhou Lin would give him a piece of jade like this. Within this jade contained Zhou Lin's countless years of experience on alchemy, especially failures and what made quality of pills drop. The jade contained very detailed information. It could be said that it was very valuable for the current Wang Lin. He and Zhou Lin had just met, so he never would have imagined that his new master would give him this piece of jade. This was too great of a contrast with the vicious teacher and student relationship he used to have with Sun Dazhu. Wang Lin felt conflicting emotions while holding the jade. Zhou Lin didn't notice any of Wang Lin's thoughts. He pondered for a while, then continued, "Your teacher's master is a very gentle person, so she will teach you all of the basics of alchemy. Also, you are free to use any of the herbs in the garden, but remember to not remove the roots so they can continue to grow. As for that pill furnace, just don't touch it. Without reaching a certain level in alchemy, it's impossible to use it." Wang Lin took a deep breath and nodded his head. Zhou Lin pondered for a while, then sighed. "Actually, I'm supposed to teach you some alchemy basics before going into closed-door training, but if I wait for too long, the water element pill's effectiveness will drop. Once I come out of closed-door training, I'll make you a few batches of foundation solidifying pills as compensation." With that, he looked at Wang Lin and said, "I'll be in closed-door training in the back mountain. You can continue to live here. My room is protected by a restriction, so don't touch it." After Zhou Lin finished speaking, he took out a set of clothes, a badge, and a bag of holding and placed them to the side. He pondered a bit, then took out a white bottle and said, "These are the 10th generation disciple clothes teacher got for you. As for this bottle, it contains 3 pills. Take 2 of them and use the last one for studying." With that, Zhou Lin's body transformed into a rainbow-colored light, and he left the courtyard. Wang Lin silently stood there for a while. He picked up the clothes and the pills, then returned to his room. Zhou Lin's actions felt very strange to Wang Lin. The way he treated Wang Lin was something he almost never experienced in his life. After a long time, Wang Lin opened the bottle. A very fragrant smell drifted out. Inside the bottle were 3 bright yellow pills. Each one was about the size of a lychee nut. Wang Lin picked one up. After looking at it for a while, he didn't consume it, but took out a small beast from his bag of holding. The moment the beast appeared, it beat its wings and let out a growl. Wang Lin flicked his finger and the pill entered the beast's mouth. His eyes became serious as he observed the beast. After a long time, not only did the beast not show any negative reaction, it instead became even more lively. Even its head seemed to have grown a bit. Wang Lin observed it for a while. He then waved his hand and the small beast returned to his bag of holding. He intended to observe it for a few days. If that small beast showed no negative signs, then he will take the pills. Wang Lin silently cultivated for the whole night. Wang Lin awoke from his cultivation the next morning. He found that the spiritual energy in his body had increased greatly. The Cloud Sky sect had very dense spiritual energy, so a night of cultivation had been very effective. Wang Lin got up and put on the Cloud Sky sect's disciple uniform. It was a long-sleeve white shirt with red pill furnaces embroidered on the cuffs. He put away the token that represented his identity and the white bottle. Then, he slapped his bag of holding and another object appeared in his hand. Although this was also another white bottle, the contents were several times more precious than all of those pills. After Wang Lin drank a gulp of the spiritual liquid, he sat down and began to cultivate. Both of his hands quickly moved, forming illusions in front of his body. The spiritual liquid turned into spiritual energy in his body and quickly traveled to his hands. Gradually, Wang Lin's hand moved even faster and sweat appeared on his brow. Then he suddenly growled, "Go!" Suddenly, all of the illusionary circles formed by his hands moved and formed a restriction circle. The restriction circle landed on the ground. A circular halo appeared on the ground and started flashing. Wang Lin wiped the sweat from his forehead. With the avatar's cultivation, he could create one restriction, but to create a restriction circle, he needed the help of the spiritual liquid, and even then it was a heavy load on his body. After the restriction circle landed on the ground, slivers of cold air leaked out from the circle. After a while, Wang Lin's main body slowly appeared through the circle. After the restriction had been tested, Wang Lin's main body sank back into the circle. This was Wang Lin's ace in the hole. When he was in closed-door cultivation and creating his avatar, he had already considered the fact that if his avatar was outside by itself, it might encounter danger. Using the ancient god's memory with 2 ink stones, a restriction could teleport the main body to the avatar as long as both held an ink stone. But before his cultivation gets to a certain level, it will take him a while to create a restriction circle. 2 months quickly passed and Zhou Lin still hadn't returned. The courtyard Wang Lin lived in was completely secluded. No one ever came by. Wang Lin had already carefully read everything in the jade Zhou Lin left him. The information in the jade was very detailed, and after he finished reading, Wang Lin could confirm that Zhou Lin didn't mess with the contents of the jade. As for the beast that took the pill, it was clear that it became stronger than the rest of the beasts. Even its spiritual energy had gotten stronger, showing that the pill had no harmful effects. As a result, Wang Lin's heart became even more confused. He had confirmed that Zhou Lin did indeed consider Wang Lin his disciple. However, this relation was established under the pretense of no conflict of interests. Wang Lin didn't know what would happen when a conflict of interest occurs, but this feeling was something that Wang Lin had never felt before. In these 2 months of time, Wang Lin's cultivation went from the 3rd layer to the 8th layer. Besides the spiritual liquid, Wang Lin's alchemy was another reason he was able to increase his cultivation so quickly. He originally came to the Cloud Sky sect to obtain pills, but now that he had the alchemy methods and materials from the garden, Wang Lin took the time to make the pills himself. The path of alchemy was very long. Besides the required amount of talent, the most important part was hard work. The path of alchemy was several times more difficult than cultivation. When one first begins alchemy, the failure rate is extremely high. Wang Lin had attempted alchemy countless times during these 2 months and only managed to succeed a few times. One time, he consumed a lot of herbs to forcibly create a batch of 7 training helper pills. With only the pills, the spiritual liquid, and the heaven-defying bead, he was able to jump from the 3rd to 8th layer in 2 months. On a certain day, a bang could be heard from the courtyard Wang Lin was staying in. A wave of light like rippling water drifted across the courtyard. Then everything returned to normal. Wang Lin walked out of the room covered in dust. He wryly smiled. That last refinement failed again. This time, he wasn't able to control the strength of the fire, so it caused the furnace to break and wasted all of the materials for the pill. The good thing was that the Cloud Sky sect wasn't short on anything, especially pill furnaces. In these 2 months, Wang Lin had already wasted 4 pill furnaces. Of the 7 pill furnaces, only 3 remained. Wang Lin walked out into the courtyard with a thoughtful expression. In every room was a switch for the fire. The fire was controlled by spiritual energy. The strength of the spiritual energy didn't matter. It depended on a micro-control technique, using one's own spiritual energy to act as a bridge between the fire and the pill furnace required one to maintain stability of the flame. But this wasn't a static stability. It required constant changes to maintain stability based on the changes inside the furnace. If there was any deviation from the proper procedure, the pill refinement would fail, and if the deviation was too great, the pill furnace would break. This was the most difficult barrier for beginner alchemists. However, if one reaches the nascent soul stage, then they can use their soul fire and won't have this requirement. Besides the control of the fire, understanding the uses and interaction of materials was also key. Just having the recipe wasn't enough. Alchemy wasn't something everyone could learn. It was impossible for 100 people to produce 100 of the exact same pill, even with the same recipe. No matter how detailed a pill recipe was, it was only a guideline. In practical alchemy, there were many unimaginable factors to account for, like how much spiritual energy was in the surrounding area, the changes in the surroundings, the impurity of the materials, and the many interactions between various materials all affected the process, and was not something a recipe could record. If one wanted to become an alchemy master, it was simply too difficult. In the 2 months that Wang Lin had been at the Cloud Sky sect, he found that pill quality was also divided into 9 ranks like alchemists. The rank of an alchemist determined the rank of pills they could produce. As of today, there were only 3 5th-ranked alchemists in the Cloud Sky sect, and one of them was Zhou Lin's teacher. This person was a female and was not a direct disciple of the Cloud Sky sect. She came from the country of Xianwu. After she joined the Cloud Sky sect, she was immediately a core member of the sect, and after several years she became an elder. It was for this reason that, even though Zhou Lin was only a 9th-generation disciple, he was able to manage the recruitment session. The elders also tried to meet all of Zhou Lin's needs. After all, even if they didn't give him face, they had to give face to his master. Wang Lin walked around the courtyard, thinking about why he had failed just now. The entire process went well, but at the last moment the fire went out of control and caused everything to fail. Wang Lin thought, could it be that every time a pill refinement is about to succeed, the fire increases and goes out of control? But he soon remembered that in these past 2 months he succeeded once and it didn't happen that time. After pondering a little, Wang Lin gathered a few pill materials and started to refine again. This time, when he was about to succeed, the fire suddenly increased and went out of control. No matter how hard he tried, the fire kept spreading. Then with a bang, the pill furnace exploded again. Wang Lin looked at the exploded pill furnace along with the wasted materials inside it with a dark expression. He pondered for a while, then tried it 2 more times. However, both pill furnaces exploded. As a result, in these 2 months, all 7 pill furnaces had shattered to pieces. Wang Lin wryly smiled. He let out a sigh and thought, if it was just the refining that failed, it would be fine because I can always keep trying until I succeed. But now the pill furnaces are all broken too. If this situation was not resolved, Wang Lin was afraid that he might be the first person to be kicked out of the Cloud Sky sect for breaking too many pill furnaces. After all, Wang Lin knew the value of a pill furnace. Every time a furnace broke, his heart would ache. Meanwhile, Wang Lin also realized that while there were many alchemists, the number of top-tier alchemists was low. After all, alchemists could be considered the most expensive people to train. In order to become a master alchemist, one must consume a large amount of materials in pill furnaces. As a result, a normal sect couldn't even sustain one master alchemist. Only a sect like the Cloud Sky sect could afford to sustain so many alchemists. Wang Lin wryly smiled as he cleaned up the shattered pill furnace and walked out of the courtyard. With all of the pill furnaces gone, he needed to get more before he could continue to practice alchemy. However, Zhou Lin was still not back, so Wang Lin had to go look for Zhou Lin's teacher. In addition, he also planned to ask about why the pill furnaces kept exploding when he was refining pills. He had to fix this problem before he could continue to learn alchemy. The Cloud Sky sect was split into the east, west, south, and north sectors, forming a circle with the main hall at the center. Wang Lin walked through the Cloud Sky sect wearing the disciple clothes with the token attached to his waist. Although he came across other people, none of them talked to him and they only nodded as a greeting. As he was walking, voices of cranes came from a distance, followed by white cranes. When they passed over Wang Lin, sounds of laughter came from the flock of cranes. Then a crisp voice suddenly said, "Oh, it's you." Wang Lin raised his head and saw the annoying girl that walked up the mountain with him. Her head peeked out from the crane with a proud look on her face. Right before she was going to speak, a clear voice came from her side. "Junior sister, if you delay any more, you will be late again and teacher will make you clean out the pill furnaces again." The girl pouted her lips. She looked at Wang Lin again, then flew away. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. Right as he was about to step forward, a cold light suddenly flashed across his eyes. He turned his head and looked behind him, only to see a shifty-looking young male with half of his body hidden behind a tree. He was looking toward the cranes with a lovesick look in his eyes. He took a deep breath and muttered, "Those girls are becoming more and more like fairies, especially the new girl that just joined." He noticed Wang Lin's gaze and gave him a mischievous smile. He jumped down from the tree and tried to pat Wang Lin's shoulder, but Wang Lin took a step back and dodged it. He was stunned but quickly recovered and mysteriously whispered, "Fellow disciple, do you know that girl?" Wang Lin remained calm and shook his head. The youth raised his brow and said, "Junior martial brother, don't be so stingy. That girl obviously acted like she knew you. Junior martial brother, you don't have to worry. I'm not interested in that girl. The only person I like is the elegant elder sister, Wang Tong." Wang Lin looked at him and said, "I really don't know her." With that, he turned to leave. The youth quickly caught up and walked with Wang Lin. He said, "I have to ask, Junior martial brother, what is your name? Your elder martial brother here is a disciple of the southern courtyard. Looking at the direction you're walking toward, you're also going to the southern courtyard." Wang Lin looked at the person. He revealed a faint smile and said, "I'm Wang Lin." The youth let out a mischievous smile and said, "Your elder martial brother here is called XIAN. So, are you going to the southern courtyard?" Wang Lin nodded. The Cloud Sky sect's 4 courtyards are very clearly divided. Junior martial brother Wang, if you want to enter the southern courtyard, it might be very difficult. If it was easy, then I would go to the western courtyard every day. You should know beautiful women are as abundant as clouds there. If I could get 1 or 2 of them to do duo cultivation with me, then I wouldn't mind cultivation at all. XIAN stopped speaking with a hint of regret, then continued, "So what are you going to the southern courtyard for? I might be able to help." After Wang Lin heard XIAN's dream, he laughed and said, "That won't be needed. I don't think my trip to the southern courtyard will be stopped." XIAN was stunned. He looked at Wang Lin for a bit. He suddenly slapped his forehead and said, "Your surname is Wang and your name is Wang Lin, I remember now. You're the one who was accepted by Uncle Master Zhou Lin. You are too lucky. Do you know how many people want to become his disciple?" Wang Lin revealed a surprised expression and asked, "Why is that? Is teacher's alchemy skill really high?" XIAN's eyes revealed a look of admiration as he said, "Although his alchemy skill isn't low, it's not exactly high either. He can only refine up to rank 3 pills, which is not a big deal. I can already refine rank 2 pills. I believe that I'll be able to refine rank 3 pills soon." Wang Lin nodded. He walked toward the southern courtyard while listening to XIAN talk. But XIAN stopped talking. He revealed that mischievous look and smiled. "Junior martial brother, I can tell you, but you have to promise to take me to the western courtyard once." "How is that?" Wang Lin's expression remained calm and said, "If you don't want to say it, it's fine." When XIAN saw that Wang Lin didn't budge, he quickly said, "Elder martial brother Wang, look, I'm even calling you elder martial brother now. All you have to do is say a few words and I can get into the western courtyard. It's only a small task." Wang Lin turned his head and said to him, "You want me to go find that girl?" Then you can use that excuse to meet that elder cider Wang Tong of your dreams? XIAN was stunned, but he quickly smiled. Yes, yes. It's only a small task. So how about it, elder martial brother? Wang Lin slowly said. Why does everyone want to become Zhou Lin's disciple? XIAN said with a face full of regret. Because Zhou Lin has a good teacher. Wang Lin, you have to know that when speaking of the number one beauty in the Cloud Sky sect, she is not in the western courtyard but in the southern courtyard. The southern courtyard's elder Li is not only a beauty, but also one of the 3 rank 5 alchemists in the Cloud Sky sect. Think about it. Becoming Zhou Lin's disciple means you're also a disciple of elder Li. Not only do you get to see a fairy, but have access to all sorts of pills and recipes. How could people not want to be part of that? Wang Lin muttered to himself, Elder Li. It is said that this elder Li was a disciple of the Luo, he sect from the country of Huafan. Wang Lin's eyes became serious. Elder Li, disciple of the Luo, he sect from the country of Huafan. These 2 sentences floated in his head as a name suddenly came to mind. Not possible, Wang Lin secretly thought. How could there be such coincidence in this world? Could the girl from back then have become an elder of the Cloud Sky sect? Wang Lin let out a fake smile and thought that he was overthinking it. In a voice filled with regret, XIAN said, Elder Li is a genius of her generation. Back in the country of Hofan, she was already famous. The country of Hofan was invaded, causing the Luo He sect to collapse and all of the disciples to scatter. If not for that, Elder Li wouldn't have come here. Wang Lin nodded but didn't speak as he kept walking forward. XIAN blinked a few times and quickly followed Wang Lin. He asked, Elder martial brother, when are we going to the western courtyard? Wang Lin looked at the sky and said, After I see the master, I'll take you to the western courtyard. But like I told you before, I don't know that girl. I don't even know her name. If it doesn't work, then oh well. XIAN was stunned. Then he looked away and said, No problem, I know her name. All you have to do is ask to see her. Brother, I believe in my intuition. That girl will definitely come out to see you. Wang Lin didn't say any more as he continued to walk toward the southern courtyard. During the entire trip, XIAN almost never stopped talking. It was clear that he was someone who was good at talking. He shared all of the news, gossip, and rumors about the Cloud Sky sect. The way he talked was almost too lively, so Wang Lin didn't get irritated listening to him. Just like that, the 2 of them arrived at the southern courtyard. It has to be said that Elder Li hasn't been in the sect for long. She has only been here for about 100 years, but her alchemy skill is beyond amazing. I heard that back then, Elder Li competed with the 2 rank 5 alchemists in the Cloud Sky sect. She didn't fall behind them at all and succeeded in refining a rank 5 demon cultivation pill, which is one of the 3 treasures of our sect. When he was talking about the pill, XIAN revealed a look of admiration. Demon cultivation pill? Wang Lin was stunned. The name of this pill was too strange. Could it that be if you consume the pill, you could turn into a demon? XIAN saw Wang Lin's expression. He quickly let out a proud smile and said, That pill does have a weird name. When the pill was created, the ancestor asked Elder Li to think of a name. After Elder Li thought for a while, she came up with that name. Although the pill's name is demon cultivation, it has nothing to do with cultivating into a demon. What effect does this pill have? Wang Lin thought it was very strange. This pill was called demon cultivation, and this Elder Li was from the country of Hofan and from the Li Hui sect. There must be some connection there. The effects of this pill are great, but I don't really know what the exact effects are. XIAN shrugged his shoulders and said, With my position, how could I know the effect of the pill? That pill is considered one of the 3 great treasures of our sect. Wang Lin didn't mind. He nodded his head. After a while, the 2 arrived outside of the southern courtyard. What appeared before Wang Lin was an arched bridge with water flowing under it, where the water emitted waves of spiritual energy. Inside the water were countless 7-color carps, leisurely swimming inside. XIAN stopped before the bridge and smiled. There is another rumor regarding the demon cultivation pill. Does brother want to hear it? I'm all ears. Wang Lin's eyes followed the bridge into the courtyard, however. There was a restriction blocking him from looking in too deep. He could vaguely see the elegant environment inside. It was like the Garden of Eden. XIAN proudly said. The rumor is that Elder Li lived in the Sea of Devils for a while. The name of the pill is related to an event that she experienced there. Of course, this is only a rumor. In fact, there are a lot of rumors about Elder Li in the Cloud Sky sect. We'll have a good talk about them later. After Wang Lin heard this, his expression remained calm. He clasped his hands toward XIAN and walked toward the bridge. XIAN quickly shouted, "Brother Wang Lin, I'll wait for you here. Don't forget that we have something to do after this." Wang Lin didn't respond. He walked across the bridge. After entering the southern courtyard, the fog became even thicker. He couldn't see anything more than 3 feet in front of him. If Wang Lin's main body was here, it wouldn't bother him at all. All he would have to do was spread out his divine sense and he would be able to see everything. But right now, Wang Lin's avatar was only at the 8th layer, so he could only slowly walk forward. The deeper he went, the thicker the fog got. His vision gradually reduced from 3 feet to 1 foot. A voice floated out from the fog. "The southern courtyard is a restricted area. If outer disciple doesn't have a token, you may not enter." Wang Lin stopped. He replied, "Disciple Wang Lin is here to greet teacher's teacher, Elder Li." The voice pondered for a while. Then the fog before Wang Lin opened up as if there was a giant pair of hands spreading it open. A path that led deep into the southern courtyard appeared. "Follow this path and you will arrive at Elder Li's residence. Go now." The voice appeared again and Wang Lin could hear a hint of envy in the voice. Wang Lin followed the path without a word. The sound of an instrument could be heard in the distance. Shortly after, Wang Lin arrived at the end of the path, where a building awaited him. Looking into the window, there was the figure of a woman. Before her was a zither. However, due to a thin layer of curtain, Wang Lin couldn't see what she looked like. The moment Wang Lin appeared, a song came out of the building and entered Wang Lin's heart like a flowing river. Wang Lin didn't say a word, but stood there and listened to the song. After the song was over, an elegant voice came out of the building. "You are Wang Lin?" The moment the voice entered Wang Lin's ears, he was stunned. His face revealed a look of disbelief, but he quickly recovered. After pondering for a long time, he responded, "Yes, I am." The moment his voice came out, a sudden pop sound came from the room as the woman broke a string on her zither. Then the window suddenly opened. Her appearance could make anyone's heart beat faster. Her face was as beautiful as a flower and her skin was as smooth as jade. It could be said that her appearance was like a flower, her voice was like a songbird's, her soul was like the moon, and her skin was like jade. The woman's gaze fell on Wang Lin. After looking at Wang Lin for a while, she revealed a hint of melancholy. She put down the curtain and regained her elegant composure. Wang Lin's expression was still as calm as still water. The moment the woman spoke, he had already figured out her identity. He didn't expect that, after all these years, that girl would become an elder in the Cloud Sky sect. Although Wang Lin's avatar's cultivation wasn't high, he still had his keen instinct. He could tell that this woman's cultivation was at the early stage of core formation. In any other sect, it would be strange for the teacher and disciple to have the same cultivation level, but it was not strange in the Cloud Sky sect. The inner yard measured someone's worth by their alchemy skill, not their cultivation. As a result, in the inner yard of the Cloud Sky sect, there were a lot of cases of the teacher having lower cultivation level than the disciple. This was because the Cloud Sky sect had a different type of scale compared to everyone else. Of course, some pills would require a certain level of cultivation to be refined. So, for certain pills, the person would need to increase their cultivation. In this world, there were few people like Li Muwen, who could make rank 5 pills that would normally require someone to be as high the nascent soul stage to refine. Wang Lin secretly sighed. The so-called time changes a person was like this. 200 years wasn't exactly long, but not short either. She was several times more beautiful than before. 200 years ago felt like just yesterday. However, there was still a big gap between the two. A gap that Wang Lin wouldn't so easily cross. Wang Lin didn't have any plans to reveal himself. His appearance was also different from when he first met Li Muwen, so she wouldn't figure out that it was him from his looks. "What is it?" Li Muwen's voice was still filled with a hint of sadness. Wang Lin took a deep breath and bitterly smiled in his heart. He said, "Disciple." Facing an old friend, Wang Lin was almost unable to say the word disciple. When Li Muwen heard Wang Lin's voice again, Her body shivered. She waved her hand and a purple veil appeared on her head. She walked out of the building and looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm. He slowly said, "Disciples' pill furnace shattered." Li Muwen looked at Wang Lin for a while. She revealed a complicated expression and asked, "Are you from the country of Chu?" Wang Lin pondered for a bit and nodded. Li Muwen let out a sigh. Her mood returned to normal. She said, "The pill furnace shattering must be because your cultivation has increased too quickly, and you can't control the spiritual energy in your body well enough to guide the fire. This is very common. All you have to do is keep practicing and it should solve itself. Since you are Zhou Lin's disciple, I'll gift you this pill furnace. This pill furnace will prevent 100 shatters. If after 100 times you still can't control the fire, then that means you have no talent in alchemy, and you should give up and go to the outer sect." After Li Muwen finished speaking, she sent out the pill furnace and it floated before Wang Lin. Wang Lin immediately put the pill furnace into his bag of holding. Although his expression was calm, he had very complex emotions floating around in his heart. Every second that he spent here, he felt like he was suffocating. He clasped his hands and turned to leave. Li Muwen suddenly said, "Ma Liang." Wang Lin revealed a startled expression. He turned around and looked at Li Muwen with a confused look. Li Muwen secretly sighed and said, "You can go. If you have any questions, you may come and ask me." After that, she returned to her residence and the sound of a zither started coming out of the building again. This time there was a hint of melancholy and loneliness in the song. Wang Lin revealed a complicated expression. He directed a thoughtful look at the person inside the building. He secretly sighed and turned around to leave. In the building, Li Muwen put down the instrument. She pondered for a while, then looked through the window into the distance. After a long time she frowned and said, "Something is not right. How could two people sound so alike? Even if that were true, there's no way their expressions could be exactly the same. Also, that Wang Lin's expression was too calm. A normal person wouldn't be able to pull that off." A light flashed across her eyes and she pointed at her brow. A drop of blood came out of her forehead. The blood was red and released a destructive aura. This was the gift Wang Lin gave her when he left. This drop of blood contained a sliver of Ji realm. Wang Lin gave it to her to protect her for the rest of her life. If it wasn't for this drop of blood, Li Muwen wouldn't have escaped the destruction of the country of Ho Fuan. If it really was him, then why didn't this blood react to him? Li Muwen bit her lip and let out a sigh. At that moment, a voice suddenly came in from outside the building. "Junior Marshal sister, could you come out for a bit?" Li Muwen slightly frowned and opened the door. She saw a handsome middle-aged cultivator walking towards her with a warm smile on his face. When he saw Li Muwen, he revealed an unreserved look of love and gently said, "Junior sister, a few months ago, I heard that you needed a long yanji. I searched the entire country of Chu and finally found one." With that, he took out a jade box. Inside the jade box was a complete purple ji that was the size of an arm. Li Muwen's expression was dull. She didn't even look at the jade box and said, "Many thanks for Senior Bother Sun's kindness, but I have already found a replacement and made the pill. Brother Sun should just keep it." The middle-aged man let out a warm smile. He put the jade box to the side and gently said, "Junior sister, the ancestors mean well. After all, you aren't a direct disciple of the Cloud Sky sect. If you wish to obtain better alchemy techniques, then you must choose a direct disciple to form a cultivating couple with. You and I have known each other for a long time. I'm sure Junior sister understands how I feel about you." A flash of coldness flashed across Li Muwen's eyes. She stared at the middle-aged man and said word for word, "Don't ever bring up this matter again." The middle-aged man quietly looked at Li Muwen. After a long time he calmly said, "Junior sister, if it wasn't for me saving you when the country of Fun Ho was attacked, you would be dead. How have I been to you for these past few years? I want to know why you're so against this." Li Muwen pondered for a while. The figure of a person unconsciously floated into her mind. She stopped that thought and said, "No reason." The middle-aged man sighed. His voice was still gentle. "Junior sister, Ancestor has already personally ordered it. Everything is already set, so please consider it again." With that, he gave Li Muwen a deep look. then turned around with a bitter smile and left. Li Muwen quietly stood outside of her house for a while, then turned around to go back in. Her back looked so sad and lonely. Wang Lin left the southern courtyard with a complicated feeling in his heart. Just as he walked across the bridge, he saw XIAN waiting for him. XIAN quickly went up and asked, "Brother, how did things go?" Wang Lin looked at him and said, "Let's go." XIAN was waiting for this sentence. He let out a smile and quickly said, "Senior, the day is almost over, so we should move quickly. Wait a bit and I'll call for 2 mounts." With that, he put 2 fingers in his mouth and a sharp whistling sound spread into the distance. Shortly after, a few beast roars came in from the distance. Wang Lin looked up and saw a large and a small shadow rushing to their location. Not long after, the shadows got close. When they arrived 10 feet from XIAN, Wang Lin could clearly see that they were 2 apes. The large one was 1.5 meters tall, while the small one was 1 meter tall. Both apes' eyes were red. They made screeching sounds at XIAN. XIAN coughed a bit and said, "I only borrowed something from you guys. We've known each other for a dozen years. Fine, carry us to the western courtyard and I'll return that thing to you guys." The 2 apes breathed heavily as they screamed at each other for a while. Then one of them grabbed toward XIAN. XIAN didn't dodge and allowed the hand to grab him. The larger ape grabbed XIAN's clothes and pulled him onto its back. They quickly ran and leaped into the distance. The smaller ape looked at Wang Lin, revealing anger in its eyes. It grabbed toward Wang Lin, but Wang Lin dodged the claw and jumped onto its back. The ape didn't seem to mind and quickly chased after the larger ape. The apes were very quick. Riding on them was like sitting on clouds. XIAN seemed to be very used to this. After yelling a few times, he took out a gourd of wine and drank a gulp. He then let out a laugh and said, "Riding a spirit ape to the western courtyard. In the entire cloud sky sect only I can do this. Ha ha." Wang Lin wryly smiled. Although this XIAN was very mischievous, he wasn't annoying. Although he was wasting Wang Lin's time, Wang Lin didn't care too much. In fact, because of XIAN, Wang Lin's dislike of interacting with people lessened a bit. XIAN threw the gourd back to Wang Lin. Wang Lin caught the gourd and looked at it for a while. He thought of Li Muwen's expression and took a big gulp. The wine wasn't spicy. It contained a bit of a dry sweetness, but different from the spirit liquid. However, the moment the wine entered his stomach, a feeling of warmth filled his body. Wang Lin could clearly feel that the spiritual energy in his body increased, causing him to be startled. XIAN let out a laugh and said, "This is special water filled with spiritual energy my teacher prepared to refine pills with. There isn't much of this in the entire state of Chu. I used fruits these 2 apes had stored for a while to make some wine. Brother, if it was anyone else, I wouldn't let them drink something this good." The moment he said those words, the 2 apes let out a few angry growls. They were clearly very unhappy about what XIAN did. Shortly after, with the spirit ape's speed, the already not far western courtyard appeared before them. The western courtyard was very different from the southern courtyard. The entire western courtyard was floating in the air and was surrounded by clouds. If one did not look carefully, one couldn't even see the building made of white jade inside the clouds. Cranes flew through the clouds and waves of crisp laughter emitted from the western courtyard. Within a certain range of the western courtyard, a pleasant fragrance filled the air. XIAN dreamily looked at the western courtyard. He let out a sigh and muttered, "Almost all of the female cultivators are in the western courtyard. Just think about all of the beauties inside. If I could just live in there for 1 year, I'd be satisfied." Wang Lin's eyes slightly lit up. He ignored what XIAN was saying and focused his attention on the restriction placed under the western courtyard. The effect of the restriction was to keep the west courtyard afloat, and it also had some effect that blocked vision from the outside. A group of cranes flew out from the mist. There were 7 or 8 girls sitting on the cranes. Each one of them was as pretty as a flower and had nice curves, especially the girl in front, who was a grade above the rest. She arrived before the 2 on the crane. After looking at them, she shouted, "The western courtyard is a restricted area." After she finished, she gave XIAN a fierce stare and viciously said, "XIAN, why are you here again? If you are here to bug Sister Tong again, don't blame me for being ruthless." XIAN pouted his lips. While rubbing the spirit ape's fur, he said, Lin, we came from the same village, why be like this? I even held you when you were a baby. Do you still remember? I still remember that time when I was holding you, and you took a piss on me. When Wang Lin heard that, he immediately patted the spirit ape's head. The ape was also smart and quickly took a few steps back. That girl's face quickly turned red, then green. Her face was immediately filled with rage. She slapped her bag of holding, took out 3 flying swords and shouted, "You're still talking about that? This is not over." The 3 flying swords flew toward XIAN like lightning. XIAN took a few steps to the side and dodged the flying swords. He took out a piece of jade and sent some spiritual power into it. Suddenly, a light screen formed, surrounding the area. He said, "Don't be mad, you were only taking a piss. Brother Xian didn't mind. Even now if you want to take a piss." Before he even finished speaking, the girl's rage had reached its limit. She waved her hand and 3 bells appeared. The bells were emitting a crisp sound. Wang Lin's eyes became serious. This time, the spirit ape backed up even more without his command. Wang Lin also quickly moved his hand and formed a restriction. All of this happened almost instantly. The instant the girl rang the bell, Wang Lin finished the restriction. Waves of crisp ringing sounds came from the bell. At first it was soft, but it got louder and louder, until it crashed down like roaring thunder. It was clear that the girl's anger had reached its limit. She passed her anger onto Wang Lin as well. From her point of view, someone who was with Xian couldn't be a good person. Xian exclaimed loudly. He wryly smiled and thought that he went too far with the joke. He didn't expect her to go all out because of a piss from their childhood. The light screen before him shook a few times under the thunderous roar, then collapsed. Xian took a deep breath and spat out a yellow light. Waves of fragrant herbs appeared with the yellow light and immediately turned into a spirit ape. The spirit ape's body wasn't large, but it emitted a ferocious aura. The moment the spirit ape appeared, the spirit ape Xian was riding let out an angry roar and threw Xian off. It kneeled on the ground and started kowtowing toward the spirit ape formed by the yellow light. Meanwhile, the smaller spirit ape did the same, although Wang Lin wasn't thrown off like Xian, but got off himself. The spirit ape formed by the yellow light wasn't bothered by the incoming ringing sound at all. Its stomach bulged and he spat out a torrent of air. Suddenly, the ringing sound was blown back. The girl's face suddenly became pale and she coughed out a small amount of blood. She fiercely stared at Xian. All of the girls behind her had anger in their eyes and took out their treasures, ready to attack. As for the ringing sound that went toward Wang Lin, it slightly paused before his body and strangely disappeared without a trace. Although Wang Lin's cultivation was low, his keen instinct and knowledge of restrictions were still there. It was more than enough to stop the attack of a mere core formation junior. The restrictions landed on all of the weak points of the bell's sound waves. The ape formed by the yellow light suddenly turned its head and looked at Wang Lin with a strange expression. Then its body dissipated and turned back into a yellow light, which was absorbed by Xian. "Don't attack. I'm not here to fight, but to accompany him to look for someone." Xian's face was bitter. He was thinking that he won't be able to make it into the courtyard. It was all his fault. If he hadn't offended that girl, Lin, he wouldn't be having his problem right now. Looking for who? Could it be elder sister Tong? Lin took a pill from her bag of holding and swallowed it. Her face returned to normal as she looked at Wang Lin with a loathing stare. Wang Lin's expression remained calm as he looked at the girl. He said, "The person I'm looking for is not elder sister Tong." Xian quickly said, "The person he is looking for is Lu Yu." The girl named Lin frowned. She looked at Wang Lin and fiercely asked, "What are you looking for junior sister Lu Yu for?" Wang Lin chuckled and retorted, "What's it to you?" The anger grew in her eyes, but she suppressed it by force. She took out a piece of jade from her bag of holding. After holding it for a bit, she threw it behind her. The piece of jade quickly flew back into the western courtyard. After doing that, the girl's gaze turned to Xian and she said, "Xian, if you keep bringing those things up, I'll go home and tell your dad that you're bullying me." Xian was startled. His expression suddenly changed and he said, "Why be like this, cousin? Who is bullying who here? Is it because when we were little At that point he quickly shut up. He saw Cheng Ling's expression change and quickly said, "I have been giving you special treatment all this time. I always bring you good food and fun stuff to play with. This time, I'm really here to help this guy look for Lu Yuan. I'm also here to see you, cousin." Cheng Lin let out a snort. She gave Chang Xian a look and started talking to the girls that were with her. Their gazes would sometimes fall on Wang Lin. Chang Xian secretly sighed and walked next to Wang Lin. He wryly smiled and whispered, "Brother, it's all my mouth's fault. Whenever I see that girl, I feel like teasing her. If I knew that today was her turn to be on duty, I would have come tomorrow." Wang Lin's expression was calm. He slowly said, "I have already helped with what I can. Whether Lu Yu comes out or not, I have fulfilled my promise." Cheng Xian sighed. He took out a voice transmission jade from his bag and handed it to Wang Lin. Before he could say anything, a crane flew out of the western courtyard, carrying a pretty girl on its back. Her eyes were wide open, staring at Wang Lin with disbelief. After she got closer, she jumped off the crane and said to Wang Lin, "You came looking for me?" The girl named Cheng Lin frowned and said, "Junior sister, you know his person?" Lu Yu quickly turned around and said, "I know him, senior sister. He joined the sect at the same time as me." Cheng Lin looked at Wang Lin a few times, then used her eyes to warn Chang Xian before leaving with everyone else, leaving just the three of them there. Lu Yu blinked a few times. She completely ignored Chang Xian and asked Wang Lin, "How do you know my name?" Wang Lin pondered a little and blandly said, "If it isn't inconvenient for you, please take this person into the western courtyard. If he could see elder sister Tong, that would be the best. If that is not possible, then don't bother with it." With that, he left without even turning his head, leaving Lu Yu and Chang Xian dumbfounded. Both of them stood there for a long time, unable to say a word. Lu Yu stomped her feet and shouted, "Come on! He called me out just for this?" Unfortunately, Wang Lin didn't turn around and his figure disappeared into the distance. Chang Xian secretly sighed, thinking that brother Wang Lin really was a master. With a girl this pretty in front of him, he still wasn't moved at all. Chang Xian felt like he would never be able to reach that stage in his life. Chang Xian took a deep breath and said, "Lu Yu, junior sister, elder sister, does elder sister have time? I am very good friends with brother Wang Lin. I took care of him when he joined the sect, so could you help me with what he just said?" Lu Yu glanced at Chang Xian and disgruntledly said, "You're the older one, humph." She fiercely stared at the direction Wang Lin went in. After muttering some stuff to herself, she shook the bell in her hand. A crane suddenly came out and landed next to her. She got on the crane and it flew into the air. Chang Xian sighed with a bitter face, but just as he was about to leave, Lu Yu's crisp voice came from above. "Follow me on your own. However, only this once and never again." Chang Xian suddenly became excited. He quickly followed the crane to the western courtyard. After Wang Lin left the western courtyard, he returned to his yard in the northern courtyard. He checked and there was no sign of anyone entering on the restrictions he left. After returning home, he took out the pill furnace Li Muwen gave him and started to practice alchemy again. He knew that he was short on time, and that he must quickly raise his cultivation level. He didn't reveal himself to Li Muwen because it had been a very long time. Wang Lin wasn't sure how much of the passion from back then still remained. Wang Lin didn't plan on revealing his identity before reaching nascent soul. If there were any sudden changes, then his hard-earned identity as a Cloud Sky sect disciple would be wasted. As a result, Wang Lin didn't reveal himself, and from his view, 200 years was just too long and there was no need to force anything. He felt that he should just let things take their course. As for how Li Muwen knew his previous body's name, it's very easy to explain. After all, 200 years of time was plenty to do many things, especially when a mere name wasn't that important. Of course, if Li Muwen had found out that his name was Wang Lin, then that would be strange. Wang Lin had very complex feelings toward Li Muwen. From the time he stepped into the cultivation world, he had met many females, but Li Muwen was the only one that had lived with him for many years. In fact, even Wang Lin had feelings for her, but the moment they appeared, they were forcibly erased by him. At the moment, Wang Lin's heart felt very complicated after meeting an old friend. After a long time, Wang Lin put this matter aside and focused again. Time slowly passed. In a flash, several more months had passed. Zhou Lin's closed-door training was still not over. Wang Lin's skill in alchemy had increased a lot, but he felt that he really didn't have much talent for alchemy. It was only after failing 93 times using the pill furnace Li Muwen gave him that he finally succeeded in mastering the control of the fire. As a result, he started to refine pills using the information in the jade left by Zhou Ling. Using the herbs in the garden, Wang Lin started to slowly try refining pills. However, the success rate was too low. In 10 tries he only succeeded once and sometimes not even once. If this continued, then, no matter how many herbs were in the garden, they couldn't withstand this kind of usage. Finally, because one of the herbs ran out, Wang Lin used the spirit liquid after pondering for a while. Surprisingly, the refining was successful, and it was not only one success. As long as the liquid was used in the refining process, then the success rate would increase by an unimaginable degree. It would succeed 9 out of 10 times. After much testing, Wang Lin confirmed that another effect of the spirit liquid was to increase the success rate of pill refining. As a result, with the help of the spirit liquid and the heaven-defying bead, his cultivation climbed at an incredible rate. He had now reached the 15th layer and was getting close to foundation building. Wang Lin clearly remembered when his main body tried to enter foundation building. No matter what he tried, he always failed. In the end, Situnan told him that there were only 3 ways to reach the foundation building stage. One was to obtain a foundation building pill, another was to steal someone else's foundation, and the last one was to have a nascent soul cultivator help you reach foundation building. Foundation building pills were too rare, and there was no nascent soul cultivator to help him. So the Wang Lin from back then decided to steal someone's foundation. His target for stealing their foundation ended up being Tenghuan's grandson, Teng Li, due to many circumstances. His avatar had also reached this stage, but he didn't need to steal someone's foundation or have a nascent soul cultivator help him, because he had learned alchemy. But the recipe for the foundation building pill wasn't easy to obtain. Normally, the teacher was supposed to make the pill and gift it to the disciple, but Zhou Lin was currently in closed-door training. He would have never thought that Wang Lin, who was only at the 3rd layer, would have already reached the 15th layer. Wang Lin sat in the yard pondering. He waved his hand and took out the voice transmission jade from XIAN. In these past several months, XIAN would often visit Wang Lin and talk a lot. According to XIAN, that time, with Lu Yu's help, he was able to meet elder sister Tong and they were getting along really well. Wang Lin's expression darkened. He sent out the voice transmission jade and it flew off into the distance. Wang Lin wasn't in a rush and sat there waiting for XIAN. Not long after, the roars of a beast could be heard from the distance. Soon, a spirit ape charged into the yard with XIAN on its back. XIAN smiled when he saw Wang Lin and said, "Brother, what were you looking for me for?" Wang Lin looked up and slowly asked, "Do you have the recipe for the foundation building pill?" XIAN was startled and said, "That foundation building pill is a spirit pill. It is not something I can make. I don't have recipes like that." Wang Lin slightly frowned. He secretly sighed and thought that he would have to find Li Muwen again. "But since brother asked, I have to at least try to help. Although I don't have it, my teacher should definitely have it. Give me 3 days. I'll definitely be able to steal it in 3 days." XIAN let out a proud smile, then talked with Wang Lin for a bit. He looked at the sky and said, "Today, elder sister Tong made arrangements with me to meet outside, so I won't have time to talk more. As for the foundation building pill, don't worry about it. I got you covered." He excitedly left on the unwilling spirit ape. It didn't take 3 days like XIAN said, but after 2 days it arrived. XIAN didn't come himself, but the slightly larger spirit ape came, dropped off the jade and left. When Wang Lin came out, he only saw the spirit ape's back. His eyes suddenly focused on the spirit ape, and he noticed that its right leg was clearly injured. The way it walked was a bit strange, as if it didn't dare to put weight on its right leg. Wang Lin lowered his head and took the jade. He pondered for a while, then returned to the yard. In the next 10 days, Wang Lin almost exclusively worked on his alchemy. The foundation building pill was a spirit pill. With Wang Lin's current skill in alchemy, his failure rate was extremely high. But after putting in the spirit liquid, the success rate had increased greatly. However, it still couldn't compare to the Pei Yuan pill. After using the spirit liquid, making Pei Yuan pills would succeed 9 out of 10 times, but with foundation building pills it was only 5 to 6 out of 10 times. Wang Lin pondered a little. He figured that the spirit liquid was less effective on higher quality pills. But the heaven-defying bead was still incomplete. Wang Lin had tried looking for the missing elements, but these elements were just too hard to find. It has to be said that for the fire element to be filled, it completely absorbed a wild spirit beast to complete it. As a result, filling the remaining earth, wood, and metal elements was simply too hard. At least for now, Wang Lin hadn't found any good methods to do it. Among the elements, only the water element was easy to get, and the wood element was not too bad. Although the wood element wasn't complete, 7 leaves had appeared on the heaven-defying bead. The metal and earth elements didn't have any movements at all. Wang Lin had tried many things, but none of them had any effect. Wang Lin already had a great deal of understanding of the liquid from the heaven-defying bead. There was a huge difference in the quality of the spirit liquid before the heaven-defying bead was filled with water element. And after the fire element was complete, the quality of the spirit liquid increased 1-fold. It was much better than before. As a result, as long as the 5 elements are complete, even ignoring what other effects the heaven-defying bead will gain, just the spirit liquid would be able to have an effect on the refining of high-rank pills. Only 2 foundation-building pills were in each batch, and 1 batch took a whole day to refine. After 10 days, Wang Lin had gathered almost all of the herbs in the garden that could be used for the foundation-building pills. In the end, he was able to make 13 foundation-building pills. Wang Lin's avatar's talent wasn't that much different from his main bodies. Both had pretty mediocre talent, nothing special. So Wang Lin knew that just 1 foundation-building pill wasn't enough. That's why he made so many, in case he needed more. After he finished everything, he let out a sigh. He pressed his hand on his forehead and entered the heaven-defying bead's space. Shortly after he entered the space, a spirit ape arrived outside his yard. The ape was covered in wounds. It stood outside, roaring for a while, before it left in disappointment. Before Wang Lin entered the heaven-defying bead, he set up some hidden restrictions to prevent people from coming into the room. Even if they were to get in, Wang Lin's whole body would be gone, so they wouldn't be able to find anything. After all, not even the spirit severing Duanmu could find the existence of the heaven-defying bead's space. The Cloud Sky sect only had nascent soul cultivators, so they won't be able to find anything at all. Wang Lin paid his respects to his parents in Situnan, then sat down to cultivate for a bit. Next, he took out the foundation-building pills, put them to the side, and put one in his mouth. The moment the foundation-building pill entered his mouth, it turned into pure spiritual energy. Wang Lin calmly activated the ancient god tactic. Under his control, the spiritual energy absorbed by the ancient god tactic didn't enter his body, but formed a swirl in his abdomen. After the last sliver of spiritual energy from the foundation-building pill entered the swirl, it suddenly enlarged and started to move upwards. The current Wang Lin wasn't a rookie cultivator anymore. He knew that if this swirl could cycle through his entire body, then he would have succeeded in entering the foundation-building stage. If he had enough talent, then the swirl would have no problems doing so. But if his talent wasn't enough, then it would seem as if there were invisible blockades making the swirl's path around the body more difficult to travel through. The swirl in his body started to spin faster and faster. The swirl was like a large tree, quickly spreading its roots through Wang Lin's body. But Wang Lin had too many obstacles in his body. The swirl became like a wave hitting rocks on a shore. At first, it broke through many of the obstacles, but the swirl soon started to slow down and even felt like it was about to shrink. Wang Lin took a deep breath. Without a word, he took another foundation-building pill. The swirl suddenly got a surge of power and started to spread again. Time slowly passed as Wang Lin was breaking through to the foundation-building stage. After an unknown amount of time had passed, Wang Lin took the 8th foundation-building pill and with a boom, the swirl surged through his entire body. Surrounding his body were countless specks of glowing light as dark liquid started to come out of his pores. After a long time, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes shined like lightning and he immediately found that his meridian was almost translucent and several times larger than before. Even his main body didn't experience something like this when it reached the foundation-building stage. Wang Lin pondered for a while. He wasn't sure if all of this had anything to do with the ancient god tactic. After all, the ancient god tactic was a technique that absorbed spiritual energy, and a foundation-building pill was just like a stronger Pei-Yuan pill, only its effect was countless times stronger. A burst of strong spiritual energy to wash the entire body, so the body would be more suited for cultivation. That was the true meaning of foundation building. But this type of change happened on the inside, while the ancient god's body reconstruction was a change on the outside. In fact, the two were really similar, only the ancient god used the spiritual energy to change the outer body to better absorb spiritual energy and become stronger. The cultivator's inner change was to better sense the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but in the end was also to become stronger. One was inner cultivation while the other was outer body refinement. The roads were different, but the destination was the same. Wang Lin's main body purposely prevented the avatar body from absorbing the spiritual energy and pushed it into his core, but after his body went through reconstruction once and the purple star appeared on his head, his main body was already on the path of outer body refinement. He was very careful when his avatar formed so it didn't go through body reconstruction. He had been paying attention to it from the start, thus, his avatar walked the path of inner cultivation. Wang Lin picked up the jade bottle. There were still 5 foundation building pills left. He pondered for a while, then tossed the pills into his body and started to cultivate again. Time slowly passed by. The spiritual energy inside the 5 foundation building pills exploded outward. A normal person wouldn't be able to contain that much spiritual energy. If it was a normal person, if they didn't die, they would lose all of the spiritual energy in their body. But Wang Lin had the ancient god tactic, one of the most overwhelming techniques out there. The one thing the ancient god tactic was least afraid of was spiritual energy, no matter how much of it there was. All of the spiritual energy created by the 5 foundation building pills was absorbed before it could cause the body any harm. Wang Lin's cultivation went from just reaching the foundation building stage to the peak of the early stage of foundation building. But Wang Lin wasn't satisfied. He pondered for a while and took out a pill furnace. The pill furnace looked very normal. The only difference was that there was a yellow paper seal on it. This pill furnace was the one Wang Lin got from Yunfei, the one she tried to use to get someone to release the restriction on her. However, everything she did was seen through by the devil following her, ending in her demise. This pill furnace naturally fell into Wang Lin's hands. He tried to analyze it before but didn't have much time. Right now he was out of pills. He would have to go back outside to make more, so the only matter he had left to deal with in the bead space was this pill furnace. While staring at the pill furnace, Wang Lin's eyes slightly trembled. Wang Lin knew that this pill furnace wasn't normal. Just the words on the seal made his skin crawl. Wang Lin pondered for a while. He took the pill furnace and shook it. Muffled sounds came from inside it. There was clearly something in there. Based on the sound, there was only one thing inside. If it was placed inside a pill furnace, there was a high chance that it was a pill. Why would someone put a yellow paper on a pill furnace? Also, what could the use of this yellow paper be? He hadn't opened up the pill furnace yet was because he didn't know what the yellow paper was for. If the paper was a restriction and he opened it up by force, it could cause a chain of uncontrollable events. After pondering for a while, he waved his hand and a sliver of spirit energy appeared on his finger. He let out a sigh and flicked his finger. The sliver of spiritual energy quickly landed on the paper. At that moment, a strange scene unfolded before him. The moment the sliver of spiritual energy got close to the yellow paper, it suddenly increased in speed and disappeared without a trace into the yellow paper. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He put the pill furnace on the ground. His hands formed many seals and he shouted, "Scatter!" Suddenly, countless specks of light floated around his body, forming slivers of spiritual energy that started to close in on the pill furnace. But before they got too close, all of the spiritual energy suddenly sped up and disappeared into the yellow paper. Wang Lin frowned. This yellow paper was really strange, as if it was made to absorb spiritual energy. He suddenly thought of something and lightly pressed his finger on the pill furnace. The moment he touched the yellow paper, nothing abnormal happened. He gently tried to rip the paper off, but an unimaginable suction force suddenly came from the paper. Wang Lin's spiritual energy started to get sucked uncontrollably. Good thing Wang Lin had already been on guard. The moment he felt the suction, he withdrew his hand. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin decided to not try anything else. He carefully picked up the pill furnace and put it back into the bag of holding. This furnace really was strange. When he first got the pill furnace, he couldn't put it inside a bag of holding, but when he made his avatar, he was able to. All of the strangeness of this pill furnace made Wang Lin very confused. After putting away the pill furnace, Wang Lin stood up and left the heaven-defying bead space. The moment he appeared in the courtyard, he noticed that there was something off. He could smell a faint scent of blood. After looking around, his gaze locked onto the main gate. The smell of blood was coming from there. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he slowly walked over. At the gate, he saw the corpse of a spirit ape. The spirit ape's eyes were wide open and gray. There were many wounds on its body, including a bowl-sized hole in his abdomen. There was no longer any blood dripping out of the body, only a faint scent of blood in the air. Wang Lin squatted down and touched its right leg. He found that all of the bones in the right leg were shattered. Clearly, this was the spirit ape that came several days ago to deliver the foundation-building pill recipe. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. The wound on the spirit ape's abdomen was torn open by someone's hand. Clearly, the goal was to get the spirit ape's core. Wang Lin had done this kind of thing as well. He pondered for a while and was able to arrive at a clear answer. He didn't know if XIAN himself had anything to do with this. In this half a year, XIAN had been very enthusiastic and seemed to have a very deep relationship with the spirit apes. When the spirit ape came to deliver the recipe instead of XIAN, Wang Lin already thought something was up. If nothing else, just because of the fact that he delivered the recipe for the foundation-building pill to him, Wang Lin couldn't just ignore this. He secretly sighed. Without even looking at the spirit ape again, he walked back into his room. This time, he didn't drink any spirit liquid and sent out one restriction circle. The restriction circle landed on the ground and sent a ripple through the ground. Slowly, a white-haired youth came out, and the moment he appeared, he released a burst of cold air. As his main body slowly appeared from the restriction, the room got even colder. Even though the room was made of jade, a layer of frost formed on the walls. After his main body appeared, his avatar took a deep breath and walked forward. His avatar crossed with the main body and they fused into one. Shortly after, Wang Lin's eyes released a very cold light, and his body released very powerful killing intent. After all of the years he had been at the country of Chu, his killing intent hadn't lessened at all. Right now, he was only releasing a small amount of his killing intent, and as for his evil intent, he didn't reveal any. Wang Lin pondered for a while. He moved his body and a mask appeared on his face and his clothes became like that of his avatars. Then he quickly left the room. He could clearly feel that his body's cultivation had increased a bit. It has to be said that he has already reached the peak of core formation. The originally impossible to raise cultivation had increased a bit. Although it hadn't gotten to the point of his core breaking to form his nascent soul, there was a sliver of purple energy in his core. Wang Lin knew that when trying to break into nascent soul, purple energy would appear. This purple energy could be called nascent energy, which was key for breaking through to nascent soul. When the entire core gets covered by this purple energy, that means that the day of forming a nascent soul will soon come. In the past, no matter how much Wang Lin tried, this purple energy had never appeared. Even after Wang Lin swallowed the nascent soul, the energy was destroyed by his G realm right as it appeared. But now this purple energy appeared and his G realm didn't attack it. This meant that Wang Lin's theory was correct. If he were to continue through with this plan and fuse with his main body once his avatar reaches nascent soul, then his main body will be able to break through to nascent soul, and he will be invincible in front of everyone below the spirit severing stage. And adding on all of his various techniques, treasures, and the ancient god's inheritance, he wouldn't be afraid to fight a spirit severing cultivator, just like how he wasn't afraid to fight a nascent soul cultivator right now. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He didn't stay still, but moved like a ghost until he was next to the body of the spirit ape. He was just about to deal with the body when his eyes suddenly focused on the ape. He thought, no wonder it's an upper spirit beast. With my avatar's cultivation, I couldn't see that its soul was still there. Wang Lin moved his right hand, pressed it above the ape's head and said, "Since I met you before, I'll save you once. From today onward, you're my third devil." A ray of black light appeared from Wang Lin's hand. The light entered the spirit ape's head. The black light flowed through the ape's body and came back out of its head. This time, the soul of the spirit ape was inside the black light. The moment the soul appeared, an aura that would make people shiver appeared. The fragrance emitted by the herbs around the garden disappeared. The herbs themselves began to tremble until they started to wilt, one by one. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He slowly said, "There seems to be innate hostility in this soul. Very good. It seems that not only your body, but your soul also suffered a lot before you died." Wang Lin felt the aura around him. This wasn't the first time he had felt this aura. The first time he felt it was 400 years ago in the country of Zhao. The owner of this aura back then was Wang Lin himself. Now that he saw that this spirit ape soul had the same aura as him, he reached out, grabbed the soul, and put it into his soul flag. After placing a few restrictions on the flag, he put it away and let it be. Inside the flag were several other powerful souls he had collected as backups for creating new devils. If this spirit ape wasn't devoured and instead devoured the other souls inside, then it had the right to become the third evil. If it isn't able to do so, then the only path left was to be devoured. After collecting the beast's soul, Wang Lin left the yard and headed toward the southern courtyard. At almost the same moment Wang Lin's main body appeared. Li Muan's brow twitched. She was in the process of refining a very important pill when her body shivered. She ignored the important refining process that required all of her attention and threw away the furnace as she charged out of her room. A batch of rank 4 pills was nothing compared to seeing the person in her mind right now. In just that moment, the drop of blood in her brow with a sliver of that person's divine sense suddenly fluctuated. It gave off the feeling of wanting to return to its owner. As if there was a giant magnet in the distance pulling this sliver of divine sense, it almost burst out of her body and charged in that direction. This kind of thing had never happened in the past 200 years. But in her heart and mind she felt like she understood something. Could it be that the person she had been waiting for over 200 years was not far away? Li Muan took a deep breath and quickly charged out of her room. Just as she was about to leave the yard, a gentle voice asked, "Junior sister, where are you going?" A cold light flashed across her eyes. She tried to move forward, but a white figure suddenly appeared in front of her, blocking her path. The white figure was the middle-aged man from before. He looked at Li Muan mildly surprised. He said, "Junior sister, you haven't told me where you were going. It's rare to see you in such a rush." The coldness in Li Muan's eyes became even colder. She stared at the man while holding back the divine sense in her body from bursting out. She said word for word with a freezing tone, "Sun Jinwei, do you really think that you with your late-stage core formation cultivation could stop me? If you don't step aside now, then don't blame junior sister for being ruthless." The middle-aged man let out a soft smile and said, "Junior sister, this is the Cloud Sky sect. Why would I dare to stop junior sister? Junior sister, where are you going? I'll be happy to accompany you." At that moment, Wang Lin arrived at the southern courtyard. He stared at the white fog around the southern courtyard with no emotion on his face. And the Cloud Sky sect. Most nascent soul cultivators were in the outer sect, but there were still a few in the inner sect. However, most of these nascent soul cultivators focused on alchemy and rarely on fights. Just like the one nascent cultivator in the southern courtyard, who was currently using his own nascent fire and the earth's fire to refine a batch of pills that would increase his cultivation level. On the way to the southern courtyard, Wang Lin hid all traces himself and moved like a ghost. He arrived outside the southern courtyard and stared at the white fog as he walked in. XIAN told Wang Lin where he lived. The fog had no effect on the current Wang Lin. The moment he spread out his divine sense, he could clearly see everything in the southern courtyard. Close to the center of the courtyard, Wang Lin noticed a fluctuation of spiritual power. He could clearly see that there was an early-stage nascent soul cultivator there. The moment Wang Lin's divine sense passed by, the nascent soul cultivator noticed Wang Lin's presence. He was startled and wanted to immediately head out, but he suddenly stopped, looked at the pill furnace, and began to hesitate. As for Wang Lin, the moment he found out that there was a nascent soul cultivator, and only an early-stage one at that, he waved his hand and a small flag appeared. Almost immediately, the flag grew and trapped the nascent soul cultivator. Wang Lin let out a cold smile. If the cultivator had reached the middle stage of nascent soul, then he would have immediately given up on helping XIAN and would have left. But since the nascent soul cultivator was only at the early stage, Wang Lin had no fear. Although the restriction flag was weaker without him controlling it, it could still trap an early-stage nascent soul cultivator for a quarter of an hour. A quarter of an hour was enough for Wang Lin to do everything he wanted to do. Wang Lin no longer bothered with the nascent soul cultivator as he continued to walk in the white fog. No one noticed that he had trapped the nascent soul cultivator with the restriction flag. Wang Lin easily moved in the white fog and arrived at XIAN's room. In the scan by his divine sense earlier, Wang Lin had already found that XIAN was here, but the situation seemed a bit dangerous. XIAN was laying on the bed, staring at the ceiling. 2 streams of tears flowed down from his eyes and the spiritual energy in his body was in chaos. By his side stood an overweight middle-aged man. The middle-aged man sighed as he threw pills into XIAN's mouth and scolded, "Little brat, I already told you that those girls are nothing but trouble, especially that girl named Tong. Very cunning and devious. She's not someone you can handle. Do you understand now? From now on, stop thinking about chasing girls and follow your teacher in learning alchemy. That is the proper path." XIAN didn't listen to a word of it. As the pills entered his mouth, the spiritual energy in his body slowly calmed down. His teacher sighed and said, "I know you're frustrated. How many times have you gone there? If it wasn't for me throwing away my pride, you would have already lost your life. The Western Courtyard isn't a place you can freely go to. This time don't blame teacher for trapping you here. The Western Courtyard has already sent word. If you keep causing trouble, they will destroy your cultivation." The middle-aged man shook his head and left the room. Wang Lin stood outside the yard. After seeing all this, he pondered for a while, then disappeared. He reappeared in the yard and walked into XIAN's room without anyone noticing. He looked at XIAN and waved his hand. The restriction on XIAN was immediately broken and XIAN got up and looked at Wang Lin with deep hatred in his eyes. "You were sent by them to kill me? Kill me. I'm not scared," he said. Wang Lin was wearing a mask and his aura and cultivation were completely different from before, so there was no way for XIAN to realize that it was him. Wang Lin glanced at XIAN. He moved his hand and a restriction instantly appeared and surrounded the room. XIAN's pupils shrank. He let out a wry smile and said, "They even got an elder from the outer courtyard to deal with a junior like me. Come on, if I even blink, then my name is not XIAN." After setting the restriction, Wang Lin coldly said, "I was indeed asked by someone to come, but to help you, not kill you. Tell me what happened. The more details, the better." XIAN was stunned. After glancing at Wang Lin, he hesitated and asked, "Who asked Senior to come?" Wang Lin frowned and coldly said, "I will only give you 3 sentences, and that was the first one. If things are still not properly explained in the next 2 sentences, I'm leaving." XIAN clenched his teeth and said, "All of this was Gong Sun Tong from the West Courtyard's fault. The reason she got close to me was because she was after my 2 spirit apes." Wang Lin pondered a little. "These 2 spirit apes are yours?" he asked. Wang Lin's question was very clever. In the Cloud Sky sect, there were many spirit beasts whose purpose was to be used for alchemy. If that was the case, then what Gong Sun Tong did wasn't exactly wrong. XIAN nodded and said, "I know what Senior means. Those 2 spirit apes aren't the Cloud Sky sect's beasts. I brought them with me when I joined the Cloud Sky sect. According to the Cloud Sky sect's rules, those 2 belong to me." Wang Lin calmly asked, "So this Gong Sun Tong got close to you, then asked you for the 2 spirit apes. You wanted to please her, so you gave her the 2 spirit apes, correct?" XIAN revealed a look of regret and excitedly said, But I thought she wanted to use the spirit ape as a mount. I never thought her goal was the spirit ape's core. The large ape already had his core removed and went missing. I assume he is dead. Now only the smaller ape is left. I went many times to ask for him back, but wasn't allowed inside. It was the outer sect disciple Lu Song who injured me multiple times." Wang Lin slightly frowned. He originally didn't want to get mixed up in all of this, but since XIAN helped him get the recipe for the Foundation Establishment pill, he had to help. After pondering a little, Wang Lin looked at XIAN and asked, "How do you want to get revenge?" XIAN's eyes were blood red. He said while gnashing his teeth, "If the smaller ape is still alive, then I will consider this matter my own fault. But if he is dead, then I want them to die as well." Wang Lin nodded and calmly said, "As you wish." With that, he backed up and disappeared without a trace. XIAN stared blankly at where Wang Lin was. His eyes revealed a confused look. After Wang Lin left XIAN's room, he quickly charged toward the western courtyard. Just as he was about to leave the southern courtyard, he suddenly stopped and looked into the distance. He felt a fluctuation of divine sense in that direction. After pondering a bit, he waved his hand and disappeared without a trace. The moment his body disappeared, Li Muwen arrived as quick as lightning. Behind her was the middle-aged man, still with a gentle expression on his face. The middle-aged man frowned and slowly asked, "Junior sister, what exactly are you looking for?" Li Muwen stopped. Through the drop of blood in her brow, she could clearly feel that that person was standing right here. But why couldn't she see him? Li Muwen let out a bitter smile. She was a very smart person and immediately realized that it was because he didn't want to see her. Li Muwen bit her lower lip. Her face was filled with grief and said, "I know you are here. Why aren't you even willing to meet me once?" The middle-aged man's expression suddenly changed. He sent out his divine sense but found no one. He frowned and suspiciously looked at Li Muwen. "Junior sister, who is here? There is no one else here." Li Muwen didn't even look at the middle-aged man as she closed her eyes and slowly calmed down. She said, "One heir doesn't ask for anything else but to see you once. In these 200 years, one heir has depended on that bottle of spirit liquid to keep my vitality. If you aren't willing to come out, then one heir will kill herself right now to release myself from this obsession." Her voice was very low, but it was filled with determination. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up as he carefully looked at his surroundings. At that moment, something appeared in the empty air. Almost immediately, a shadowy figure appeared from nowhere. It was Wang Lin. The moment he appeared, the middle-aged man's expression suddenly turned ugly. But the middle-aged man didn't dare to act rashly. He slowly moved his hand toward his bag of holding. Li Muwen stared at Wang Lin. Although Wang Lin was wearing a mask, Li Muwen could clearly tell that this person was the person from back then. "You came," Li Muwen whispered. Wang Lin wryly smiled and asked, "Why must you be like this?" With that, he coldly looked at the middle-aged man and calmly said, "The moment your hand touches your bag of holding is the moment you die." The middle-aged man's right hand suddenly stopped. His face changed again. The feeling Wang Lin gave him was too strange. He was clearly only at the late stage of core formation, but the pressure Wang Lin gave him was like that of a nascent soul cultivator. He had no doubt that if his hand touched the bag of holding, Wang Lin would instantly kill him. Large droplets of sweat appeared on his forehead as he quickly said, "Since brother is junior sister Li's friend, then you are the Cloud Sky Sect's friend. How would I dare to be rude? Brother misunderstood me." Li Muwen looked at Wang Lin. She had thousands of things she wanted to say, but she couldn't let out a single word. She pondered a bit, then asked, "Do you still have that piece of jade?" Wang Lin looked at her for a while. He was silent for a bit, then answered, "I threw it away." Li Muwen's body shook. Her eyes were filled with sadness. She forced herself to calm down and whispered, "Since you threw it away, oh well. It wasn't anything expensive." Although she said this, she felt an excruciating pain in her chest. This pain was like a flood that was going to drown her heart. That dragon jade was something she had put all of her effort into, and even used her life force as a price to successfully create. If it wasn't for the fact that she sacrificed too much for it back then, she would at least already be at the peak of core formation with all of the pills she had taken, if not the nascent soul stage. How else could she have been stuck at the early stage of core formation? The moment she heard that that jade was just thrown away by Wang Lin, her heart felt pain. This pain was so strong that, despite all her effort to calm herself down, her body still trembled and her face became pale. Wang Lin turned his head and no longer looked at Li Muwen. He pondered a bit and said, "I'm leaving." Wang Lin slowly turned and walked away. Li Muwen's heart ached. She let out a faint smile at Wang Lin's back. Although it was a smile, it was clear to everyone else that it was a silent cry. The Cloud Sky sect ancestors want me to form a cultivation pair with this person. Before I kept rejecting him, but now I have no reasons left to reject him. If you're still in the country of Chu in 3 months, then please come to the ceremony. Wang Lin's feet instantly trembled. Very complex feelings surfaced in his heart and he began to think. Li Muan's eyes shined while waiting for his response. That middle-aged man finally understood why Li Muan had always been so against becoming a cultivation pair. The reason was this person. Although his face was calm, a trace of killing intent appeared in his heart. Wang Lin pondered for a long time. He said, in a low tone with his back toward Li Muan, "Congratulations." With that he slowly left. Li Muan's body quivered. After a long time, tears flowed down from her eyes and she muttered to herself, "I hate you. Hate you." That middle-aged man let out a breath. He gently said, "Junior sister, he already left." Li Muan bit her lower lip. She ignored the middle-aged man and returned to her house. The middle-aged man's face was still gentle, but he coldly smiled in his heart. He thought, if it wasn't for your 200 years of Yuanin, I wouldn't have asked the ancestor to agree to us becoming a cultivation pair. With your Yuanin's help and all of the pills I have collected, breaking into the nascent soul stage is only a matter of time. If you had agreed earlier, I would have still been nice to you, but now I decided that, once I reach nascent soul, I'm going to make you pay for repeatedly rejecting me. Wang Lin left the southern courtyard. Although he was a cruel person, he still felt a lot of regret toward Li Muan. It was not that he was unable to accept her, but the path he must walk just wasn't suited to have a woman following him. The truth was that Wang Lin was not as ruthless as he sounded to Li Muan, but his avatar needed to reach the nascent soul stage. If he were to get involved with Li Muan now, then that would cause inevitable changes in his original plan, changes that could lead to serious consequences. As a result, Li Muan could be dragged in as well, and that was not something Wang Lin wished to see. He sighed. His mood started to fluctuate and he was unable to calm himself down. He left the southern courtyard with complex feelings in his heart. He calculated that there was less than half of those 15 minutes remaining, so he had to act quickly. His body suddenly moved like lightning, and he soon arrived outside of the western courtyard. After Wang Lin arrived, he didn't immediately enter. Instead, he quickly circled the western courtyard and placed restrictions. He then quickly entered the courtyard. With his strong divine sense, none of the patrolling disciples could detect him. All of the cranes landed and refused to fly, no matter how much the girls on their backs urged them to. Wang Lin's figure moved quickly through the fog and entered the western courtyard. Looking from outside, this place looked like a fairyland and it looked even more like one on the inside. The level of exquisiteness of the buildings here were several times higher than the buildings outside. A ray of rainbow-colored light came from the depths of the courtyard, acting like a bridge as all of the girls of the western courtyard floated by. But unfortunately, all of the cranes were on the ground trembling. Thus, this place was missing a beautiful scene. Following the path XIAN told him about, Wang Lin walked quickly through the courtyard and arrived at Gong Sun Tong's room in the western part of the courtyard. He spread out his divine sense and found a very strange scene. He slightly frowned, then leapt into the air and arrived inside the room. There was a screen in one side of the room and behind the screen were two exquisite figures taking a bath. Looking through the screen, both women had very nice curves as they touched each other's bodies. Soon, their bodies hugged each other as they began to move. At the same time, moans came from behind the screen. Under Wang Lin's divine sense, the two girls' actions were clearly seen. Currently, the girl that was gasping for breath said, "Sister Tong, that XIAN." Just as she was speaking, the other girl moved as she touched a sensitive spot. After a long time, a lazy and tender voice came from behind the screen and said, "Ling Er, are you still worried about that XIAN? Yes, I cheated him, but it was all because you were short on cores for your pill recipe. I just had my sights on his spirit apes." "But what about Lu Song?" The girl being called Ling Er was Cheng Ling. "Just trust me. When Lu Song comes tomorrow, I'll deal with him. I promise there won't be any problems. That Lu Song, at most, I'll let him have a little taste. Ling Er, elder sister has served you well. Now it's your turn." Wang Lin didn't go inside but pointed to his brow. Su Ligua came out of Wang Lin's brow. He stared at the screen with an excited look in his eyes. I don't care how you deal with it. Just find out what happened to the spirit ape and take both of their souls. Wang Lin turned around and slowly walked out of the room. Su Ligua had never been this excited before. He felt that following Wang Lin was definitely the right thing to do. Right now, he felt like his blood was boiling even though he didn't have any blood after becoming a devil. But that didn't affect how he felt. Su Ligua let out a devious smile and went through the screen. Not long after, he came out with a very satisfied look on his face. He spat out 2 souls, then went back into Wang Lin's brow. At the same time he sent out a message. That spirit ape is dead. Wang Lin waved his hand and a soul flag appeared. He threw the 2 souls into the flag, then went into the room. He put away the 2 girls' bodies into his bag of holding, then left the room. In that moment those 15 minutes had passed. Wang Lin called back the restriction flag. The flag turned into a black mist and quickly left the southern courtyard. At the same time, an angry roar erupted from the nascent soul cultivator. He spread out his divine sense, locked onto the western courtyard, and quickly charged toward it. Shortly after, in the western courtyard, a fierce divine sense also spread out. After it found Wang Lin, a woman came from the middle of the courtyard. Without a word, Wang Lin turned to leave. This woman's body was surrounded by fog, so her appearance was hidden. The moment she appeared, her body moved like lightning after Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm. Seeing that she was getting closer, he let out a cold smile. He moved his hand and sent out waves of restriction circles toward the woman. You don't know your place. The woman let out a cold snort. She waved her hand and a flower basket appeared in her grasp. The moment she waved it, numerous colorful flower petals appeared. Each of the petals carried a destructive force as they floated toward the restrictions. This woman's cultivation level was early-stage nascent soul. Although Wang Lin's expression was calm, he sneered in his heart. The moment the restriction circles got close to the flower petals, they instantly broke up into numerous smaller restrictions and spread out. Although some were destroyed by the petals, many reformed into restriction circles after passing the flower petals. Their speed was very high. The moment they reformed into restriction circles, they landed on the western courtyard. Wang Lin already knew that this entire western courtyard was being lifted into the air by a giant restriction. If Wang Lin had the time, he would be able to completely break this restriction. However, Wang Lin's goal wasn't to break the restriction, but to make it lose balance. Normally, regular restrictions wouldn't even be able to do that, but Wang Lin's restrictions were ancient restrictions. Combined with the fact that he had already placed some restrictions ahead of time, the moment the restriction circles landed, tremors spread throughout the western courtyard. The large restriction instantly lost its balance, causing the western courtyard to tilt to the side. Waves of screams came from the western courtyard and large amounts of female cultivators flew out with looks of fear in their eyes. While Wang Lin was doing all of this, he never stopped as he quickly flew into the distance. The woman chasing him clenched her teeth. She stopped chasing after Wang Lin and quickly returned to the large restriction to reinforce it. Wang Lin left the western courtyard without any more hindrances. But he knew that soon, the middle-stage nascent soul cultivators from the Cloud Sky sect will arrive. Just at that moment, a very powerful divine sense came from the distance. The moment the divine sense went past Wang Lin, it let out a cold snort. Wang Lin remained calm. If it was anyone else, their soul would have taken damage, but Wang Lin's soul was extremely large. If his soul came out of his body, it wouldn't be any weaker than the soul of spirit severing cultivators. Although his soul was currently trapped inside his body and couldn't leave, how could it be damaged by a mere nascent soul cultivator? His body basically didn't stop at all as he continued to move forward. The owner of that divine sense was stunned, but quickly locked onto Wang Lin as Wang Lin's main body approached. A black shadow quickly came and landed in Wang Lin's hand. This black shadow was the restriction flag and behind it was the angry nascent soul cultivator Wang Lin had trapped. After the restriction flag landed in his hand, Wang Lin let out a cold smile. He landed on the ground and turned. Instantly, a restriction appeared under his feet and his body disappeared without a trace. Even the divine sense that was locked onto him lost track of him. Wang Lin's main body had already returned to the cave outside the sect. and that cave was covered with restrictions that blocked divine sense. Meanwhile, at the yard Wang Lin lived in, his avatar appeared from the restriction circle in the room. He quickly cleaned up a bit, then sat down to cultivate. This matter was considered over. In the next half a month, the story of Wang Lin's main body spread throughout the sect. Various versions could be found everywhere. It has to be said this is something that hasn't happened in the Cloud Sky sect in a long time. The person got into the sect in broad daylight, killed someone, then disappeared in front of their eyes. It was like slapping the Cloud Sky sect in the face. This even alerted the few nascent soul ancestors who were preparing to tackle spirit severing. They came out to investigate and found out that the two that were killed were Gong Suntong and Cheng Ling. Everyone who was related to them like Chang Xian and Lu Song were questioned. Even Wang Lin was questioned. In the end, a nascent soul cultivator even used his divine sense to check if Wang Lin was lying. However, since Wang Lin's soul was much larger than that nascent soul cultivator's soul, he wasn't able to find anything. For some unknown reason, this matter was left alone. As for Li Muwen, she wasn't dragged into any of this. This was all the work of her senior brother. His schemes were very deep. He knew that the person responsible was Li Muwen's friend. That person's technique made him very scared. Even 3 nascent soul cultivators weren't able to stop that person from entering and exiting the Cloud Sky sect as he wished. As a result, how would he dare say anything? If he talked, then that person would appear unnoticed and kill him. Wang Lin's life returned to being peaceful again. But in his mind, Li Muwen's sad smile kept emerging. Every time he saw that sad smile, it felt as if his heart was being pierced. This feeling reached its limit when the Cloud Sky sect announced to the entire country of Chu that one of the 3 rank 5 alchemists, Li Muwen, will form a cultivation pair with outer sect elder son's son, Sun Zhanwei, in 2 months. Wang Lin quietly sat inside the room. After a day and night of thinking, he let out a sigh and revealed a determined look in his eyes. A cold light flashed across his eyes as he got up and walked toward the southern courtyard. The entire path wasn't smooth as he was blocked by the white fog. However, after he announced his name, someone went to inform Li Muwen and a path opened up. Wang Lin slowly walked forward. Although his steps were slow, there was a feeling of determination with each one. After arriving outside of Li Muwen's house, Li Muwen's voice floated out. "Your teacher's closed-door training is almost over. If you have any questions, you can ask him once he comes out. From now on, unless I call you, don't come here anymore." Wang Lin pondered for a while, then slowly said, "I want a pill. A pill that can raise my cultivation level to nascent soul in 2 months." Li Muwen was startled. She stood up, opened the door and stared at Wang Lin. She asked with a trembling voice, Who are you?" Wang Lin revealed a gentle look, which was a rare sight. However, that trace of gentleness was replaced by calmness as he asked, "Is there such a pill?" Li Muwen bit her lower lip. Her eyes revealed a never-before-seen happiness as she stared at Wang Lin. She still had a feeling of uncertainty in her heart, but soon, her expression suddenly changed as her eyes became cold. She shouted, "Who the hell are you?" Li Muwen immediately remembered that the drop of blood in her brow didn't react. Clearly, this person wasn't the person she was thinking of. Slowly, the hatred for that person appeared and was redirected to Wang Lin, who sounded almost exactly like that person. Wang Lin looked at Li Muwen and let out a sigh. He put his hand on his bag of holding and took out a piece of jade. After looking at it for a bit, he threw it at Li Muwen. The moment the jade appeared, Li Muwen's entire body went soft. After catching the jade, she leaned against the wall as tears of joy flowed down her face. "Killing Sun Zhanwei is easy, but it has to wait until my cultivation level is high enough to make sure that no one in the Cloud Sky sect dares to speak up. When I reach the nascent soul stage, I can take you anywhere in the entire country of Chu, and no one will dare to stand in my way." Wang Lin's voice was dull, but his words were filled with arrogance. Li Muwen raised her head as she looked at Wang Lin. Her face slowly turned red as she said, You can come in." She moved to get out of the doorway. Wang Lin didn't say anything as he walked forward. When he walked past Li Muwen, a fragrance that could cause one's heart to flutter entered his nose. Wang Lin stopped and looked at Li Muwen. They were very close to each other. Wang Lin could clearly see her face becoming more and more red. Even her neck was starting to turn red. Wang Lin's eyes were no longer cold as he wrapped his arm around Li Muwen's waist. Li Muwen's body softened up again as she fell onto Wang Lin's chest. Wang Lin could clearly feel Li Muwen's fast heartbeat. After a long time, Li Muwen bit her lower lip and pushed Wang Lin away. She looked at Wang Lin and asked, "Why do you look different from before?" Wang Lin let go of Li Muwen. He scanned the room, then sat down on a chair. Li Muwen poured tea for him, then stood there, waiting for his answer. Wang Lin slightly smiled and said, "Ma Yang was a possessed body. This is my real body." Li Muwen blinked and quickly asked, "Your real name is Wang Lin? Also, why is your current cultivation level so different from the you that I saw a while ago?" Wang Lin nodded. After pondering for a while, he responded, "One air, when there is time I'll tell you. Now I want to ask, is there a pill that will allow a foundation establishment cultivator to reach the nascent soul stage in 2 months?" Li Muwen's beautiful face revealed a contemplative expression. She whispered, "Only in some ancient books are there records of pills that allowed one to reach the nascent soul stage in a short period of time, but those pills' recipes are either lost or the materials are extinct, and finding alternative materials is extremely difficult." Wang Lin's expression was calm, but his heart sank. If there were no pills like that, then how will he reach the nascent soul stage in 2 months? This was a very serious problem. Li Muwen frowned as she carefully searched her memories while sitting next to Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't bother her. 200 years of time didn't leave any marks on her at all. This made Wang Lin feel a bit strange. She not only didn't age, but became even more charming than before. There was also a graceful temperament with a hint of arrogance. Many different recipes and books flashed through Li Muwen's mind. After a long time, her eyes suddenly lit up and with a tone of happiness she quickly said, "I was thinking of a way. If it is going from foundation establishment directly to nascent soul, then even on this entire planet Sasuka, there are basically no existing pills that could do this. But if we split up this problem, then it would be doable. The first part would be to move from foundation establishment to core formation. Then, after reaching core formation, try to find a way to reach nascent soul." Wang Lin nodded. Li Muwen let out a smile. Her eyes were filled with confidence. She blinked a few times with her beautiful eyes and said, "If it is rising up to core formation, one heir has quite a few pills for that. My brother Wang, what pills have you taken so far?" Wang Lin pondered a little, then said, "This avatar hasn't taken many pills. Besides Peiyuan pills, only foundation establishment pills." "Foundation establishment pills?" Li Muwen's eyes were filled with surprise as she continued, "If it is just Peiyuan pills, then it is fine. After all, they are the most basic pills that alchemists learn to make. But the foundation establishment pill can be considered a spirit pill. Brother Wang, did you make the pill on your own?" With that, she let out a faint smile and delicately said, "Humph, I remember now. Your teacher Zhou is still in closed-door training. I'm your ancestral teacher right now." Wang Lin's face let out a rare faint shade of red, but it soon disappeared. He coughed and said, "The foundation establishment pills were made by me, but they were infused with that spirit liquid I gifted you before." Li Muwen's eyes revealed a serious look. She stood up and asked, "Do you have more of that spirit liquid?" Wang Lin's expression was calm as he nodded. Li Muwen's chest rose up and went back down as she took deep breaths. "Brother Wang, how much of that spirit liquid do you have left? Is there a lot?" she asked. Wang Lin's right hand slapped his bag of holding as he placed a white bottle on the table. Li Muwen's eyes revealed a disappointed look and muttered, "So there is only one bottle left. There probably wasn't much of something as rare as this to begin with." Before she could finish, another bottle appeared in Wang Lin's hand. One bottle after another appeared in Wang Lin's hand, and were placed on the table until there were 8 bottles. Li Muwen was dumbfounded. After a long time, she regained her senses. She looked at the 8 bottles, then at Wang Lin before asking, "Brother Wang, are all of these bottles filled with pure spirit liquid or did you dilute it?" Wang Lin faintly smiled and said, "I didn't dilute it. It's the same spirit liquid I gave you before. Is this enough? If not, I can give you more." Li Muwen's face suddenly turned red. She stared at Wang Lin and asked, "There's more?" Wang Lin nodded and said, smiling, "However much you want, I have." Li Muwen's chest rapidly went up and down. She opened one of the bottles and carefully looked at what was inside. She then looked at Wang Lin with a look of disbelief. After a long time, she finally managed to say one sentence. "Brother Wang, do you know what effects this spirit liquid has?" Wang Lin didn't hide anything and slowly said, "I have always used the spirit liquid instead of pills to raise my cultivation. Lately, I noticed that this spirit liquid can also help increase the success rate of alchemy." Li Muwen was stunned again. She looked at Wang Lin with an odd expression. After a long time, she laughed. "Brother Wang, you're really wasting a heavenly treasure. Although I don't know where the spirit liquid came from, after experimenting with what was in the bottle you left me for a majority of my life, I found that if you use the spirit liquid during alchemy, it can increase the success rate of making pills. Also, if you consume it directly, it can prevent you from aging. After taking it for a long time, it can increase a person's lifespan. If a large amount of it is used to make a pill, it can make a powerful spirit pill that would be several times more effective than just drinking it. If there was only 1 drop of this spirit liquid, it wouldn't be that good. But if there are more than 10 drops, it can be sold for an unimaginable price in the cultivation world." After Wang Lin heard this, his eyes were still calm as he said, "Oh, so if you use this to make a pill, will it increase my chance of reaching nascent soul?" Li Muwen took a deep breath and said with confidence, "If there was no spirit liquid, then I would have no confidence in helping you reach nascent soul. All I would be able to do is give you a lot of pills and hope for the best. But with all of this spirit liquid, I have a 30% chance of getting you to nascent soul in 2 months. 30%? Wang Lin frowned as he nodded. He quickly touched his bag of holding and took out a pill furnace. The pill furnace was the one from Yun Fei. "One Air, do you recognize this pill furnace?" Li Muwen only took one look and her expression suddenly changed. Her eyes revealed a look of disbelief. After a long time, she took a deep breath and asked, "Brother Wang, where have you been in these past 200 years? Wang Lin let out a faint smile and asked, "What? Is this a treasure?" Li Muwen repeatedly nodded. Her face was filled with excitement and her body was giving off an irresistible aura. "Brother Wang, the quality of this pill furnace is extremely high. In fact, it's comparable to the giant pill furnace in the Cloud Sky sect. One Air suspects that this pill furnace is even better than those pill furnaces. If you look at these complex lines, they aren't natural but traces of countless pills produced by this pill furnace. These signs are sometimes the real indication of the value of a pill furnace. If One Air is correct, then this is the main treasure of an alchemy sect." Wang Lin secretly nodded. Her analysis was very close to his own speculation. Li Muwen looked at the yellow paper with dreamy eyes and slowly said, "But compared to this pill furnace, this piece of yellow paper is even more precious. Look at the seal on this yellow paper. One Air has only seen hints of this in some old books. This paper is called a pill seal. Its function is to absorb the spiritual energy of the world. While sealing the pill, it also helps nourish the pill at the same time. This technique was even rare in ancient times. The production process of pill seals have long been forgotten. What is more rare is how complete this pill seal is and that it's still functioning. It has to be said that if even a normal pill was placed under a pill seal, after a few days, its effect will increase by 1-fold. If left longer, its effect will increase even more. Rumor has it that all of those heaven-defying pills in stories were created after being left in a pill seal for hundreds of years. It can be said that the pill seal played a key role in making those pills." Wang Lin was very surprised. He looked at the yellow paper. He didn't expect the paper to be more precious than the pill furnace. Exactly what kind of pill would be inside of a pill furnace this rare and sealed by a pill seal this precious? Following this logic, wouldn't the pill be even more precious than the pill furnace and pill seal combined? Li Muwen took a deep breath. She looked at the pill furnace and continued with her beautiful voice. "Brother Wang, you might have already guessed that the real treasure isn't the pill seal or the pill furnace, but the pill inside. It is rumored that only heaven-defying pills would be placed inside of this type of pill furnace and use this type of seal. One Air is now very curious as to what kind of pill is sealed inside here."